Hey guys! If you were born a camel in a forgotten caravan somewhere deep in the shifting folds of the Sahara, I have to be honest with you. You probably wouldn't survive the first 3 hours. The sun alone is enough to saute your brain. The wind? Sharp as powdered glass. And don't even get me started on the vultures. Yes, they really do circle before you're even fully born. But still, there you are, blinking into the blistering blue, legs splayed, fur sticky, and sand sticking to places no sand should ever be. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And I'd love to know where you're listening from. Drop your country and local time in the comments. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're born around noon, of course, because the Sahara has no sympathy for night births. The sun hangs above you like a silent, white-hot tyrant, glaring down without blinking. You emerge from your mother in a slick heap of limbs and low expectations. You're covered in afterbirth and desert grit before you even have a name, though, spoiler alert, no one's gonna give you. Your mother nudges you, firm but not unkind, with her broad, slightly crusted snout. She doesn't coo or sing or cradle you. She's been through this before, many times. What you get is a grunted sigh, a half-second glance, and the unmistakable message, get up. It's hot, and we're not waiting. The sand beneath you is surprisingly cold in the shade of her belly, though that luxury doesn't last. The sun creeps in like gossip, touching your tiny hooves, then your neck, then that funny spot behind your ears. You flinch. The heat bites without warning. You try to stand. Of course you do. Everyone does. It goes poorly. Your front legs stretch up before your back legs even understand there's a meeting in progress. You topple forward like a drunk spider, legs splaying in different time zones. Somewhere nearby, an old camel snorts with what might be laughter or hay stuck in his nose. Hard to tell. Eventually, the humans don't notice you yet. Or if they do, they don't care. They're too busy fussing over baskets of spices, repacking bales, cursing over ledgers and half-ripped tarps. A man with a beard down to his navel yells something about moldy cumin. Someone else laughs. A goat screams for no reason. Life goes on. But you, tiny, sticky, wobbly you, take your first real step. It's less of a step than a hopeful fall, but no one's grading. Your mother turns slightly, positioning herself so you can find the one thing you're instinctively good at locating: food. Her udder smells like old milk and dust, but to you, it's a miracle fountain. You fumble with your lips, miss twice, then finally latch on. The first sip is warm, thick, and oddly metallic, but it slides down your throat like a promise. Your tail flicks, a fly dies tragically between your eyelid and your twitching ear. You don't care. You're drinking. You're alive. And somehow, you're already a little annoyed at everything. Your mother chews idly, not even looking at you. Her eyes half close, and she shifts her weight to one hip. She's relaxed now that you're upright and feeding. That's all she really needs to know. She won't cuddle you. She won't sing lullabies. But if a hyena shows up, she'll kick it into next Tuesday. Love. Camel style. A few feet away, the rest of the caravan rustles with slow movement. Other camels snort and stretch. Some are sitting, legs folded under like worn rugs. Others are standing with ropes hanging from their necks like forgotten leashes. One is scratching its neck violently against a wooden crate, probably the same crate you'll be tied to tomorrow. The wind picks up, and with it, the smell of everything. Leather, sweat, dried fish, cloves, damp fabric, even a faint hint of smoke from a dying campfire. You sneeze. It sounds like a hiccup in reverse. A young boy finally notices you. He's probably 10, wearing a tunic too big for him and a belt that serves no purpose. He walks over and squints at you, shielding his eyes from the sun. Then, without ceremony, he mutters something to your mother, throws a faded blanket across your back, and ties a bit of rough twine around your neck. Congratulations. You now belong to economics. But not yet. Not really. Today is yours. You take a few more wobbly steps. The world doesn't get bigger, it just gets closer. Every rock looks like a hill, every camel a mountain. The humans move like giants, loud, smelly, and too quick. The only ones slower than you are the flies, and they never stop landing on your nose. You try to sit down. It's harder than standing. Your legs fold in ways that feel wrong. Eventually, you collapse in a heap, your chest hitting the sand with a soft whoomph. Your eyes half close, the sun presses against your back like a warm, itchy hand. Somewhere behind you, a flute starts playing. Off-key? Painfully off-key. A man is singing about almonds. Or maybe onions. You're too tired to care. An older camel lumbers past, glances at you, then stops to sneeze directly on your head. A blessing, probably. You blink slowly. You've survived 3 hours. The sun hasn't cooked you. The flies haven't won. Your legs work. Sort of. You've tasted milk and seen sky. And now, as the shadows of the caravan stretch long and golden across the dunes, you close your eyes for the first nap of your very, very long life. You wake to the sound of footsteps, slow, heavy, and rhythmically offbeat. They don't sound dangerous, but they sound important. The sun has shifted slightly, angling itself to shine directly into your right eye, because of course it has. You blink, stretch your neck, and find the ground somehow hotter than before. Your body aches with the dull soreness of sudden existence. Muscles you didn't know you had are grumbling already. That's life as a newborn camel. Ache first, ask questions never. Your mother is standing nearby, chewing rhythmically and staring off into the distance like someone trying to remember if they left the fire burning at home. Her ears twitch occasionally, mostly at things you can't see. You make a half-hearted noise, a kind of baby snort. She glances at you for a single beat, then goes back to her existential chewing. Encouraging. Your mouth is dry, like tongue as a piece of parchment dry. You remember the milk from earlier, thick and earthy, but your body's already demanding more. Your instincts nudge you toward her again, and you shuffle close, nuzzle around like a sleepy drunk at a vending machine, and latch on for another slow gulp. The taste hasn't improved, but your stomach hums with warm satisfaction. The world around you is gradually stirring. One of the elder camels lets out a deep, bassy groan that vibrates through your rib cage. Another camel yawns dramatically and then immediately sneezes into the wind. A cluster of goats passes by, sounding nervous and judgmental. A dog barks once, just to remind everyone it exists, then promptly sits on its own tail. The humans are packing. Ropes pulled tight, baskets stacked, blankets folded with the enthusiasm of someone folding regret. The air smells of roasted grain and wet leather. Somewhere in the distance, someone is boiling tea in a dented kettle, the scent of mint just barely cutting through the heavy smell of camel sweat. Suddenly, a pair of rough hands grabs your rope. You're not alarmed, not yet, but you are confused. Your legs fumble beneath you as the boy from earlier begins tugging, encouraging you in a language that makes absolutely no sense. You make a noise, somewhere between a bleat and a protest, and try to resist. He pulls again. You stumble forward. Your knees buckle. Gravity wins. The boy laughs, not unkindly. and gives you a few moments to stand again and again and again. You get better, sort of. Each time your legs feel a little less like cooked spaghetti. Eventually, you're upright and moving, shakily, like a cart missing two wheels, but forward. Your mother follows, not out of concern, but obligation. That's the camel way. Follow, endure, repeat. As the caravan lines up, camels in the middle, humans at the edges, you find yourself somewhere near the back, just behind a foul-tempered creature named something that sounds like grrr. He turns and immediately spits at you. Welcome to your social circle. You begin your first march. The rhythm of the caravan is hypnotic. Hoof, hoof, pause. Jingle of a bell. Creak of leather. Swish of tail. Repeat. Your hooves drag at first. The sand shifts beneath you. An untrustworthy friend. You slip a little. Grrr. Looks back and sneers. Well, as much as a camel can sneer. You steady yourself and focus on just one foot at a time. Step, breathe. Step, breathe. The sun, which has only grown meaner since your birth, climbs higher, staring down like it's waiting for you to fail. It burns against your thin fur. Your ears twitch in irritation. Your mouth dries again. Your eyelids droop under the weight of the brightness. But you walk. You pass through flat, cracked terrain where nothing grows. The wind picks up tiny bits of sand and flings them into your face with childlike cruelty. Your nose begins to crust with dryness. Your tail flicks weakly behind you, a useless fan in a world made of ovens. Time has no meaning. Minutes are indistinguishable from hours. You simply exist in a state of warm discomfort, rhythmic plodding, and the occasional interruption when someone ahead stops to sneeze, relieve themselves, or yell at a goat. At some point, a human ties a small sack to your side. It's filled with something that smells vaguely edible and extremely heavy. You make a sound of protest. No one cares. You are now officially useful. Congratulations! Around midday, the group pauses. The humans huddle under what little shade their tents can offer. You, the camels, and the goats just stand. There is no shade for you. There never is. You stand, and you sweat, and you blink. That's the job. A small boy offers you water in a clay bowl. It's hot. It tastes like dust and regret. But you drink, greedily. Your lips clumsily slap against the bowl's edges. Half the water drips down your chin. The boy giggles, then wipes your face with a scrap of cloth. You're not sure if that counts as affection or cleaning, but either way, you feel slightly less awful. Then, movement again.
The second stretch is harder. The heat has climbed into your bones. The muscles behind your knees protest with every step. Your breath is shallow, but the rhythm continues. Hoof, hoof, jingle, swish. Occasionally, the terrain changes, slightly. A few tufts of desperate grass, a tree that might be hallucinated, a distant mountain that never gets closer. You see birds circling in the distance, and then realize they're always circling. It's their only hobby. By late afternoon, the light begins to soften. The shadows grow long and surreal, stretching across the sand like melted shadows of ghosts. The air cools, only a little, but enough to breathe without tasting fire. The caravan slows. One by one, the camels begin to kneel, folding their long legs in an order that somehow feels rehearsed. Your mother lowers herself with a tired grunt. Spits one last time for good measure and collapses with an audible foom. You try. You fail. Then try again. Eventually, you fold your legs just right, and the sand embraces you like a lukewarm mattress. You exhale deeply. Your whole body shudders, not from cold, but from release. The day has been survived. The humans light fires. They cook something pungent, stewed beans maybe. You're too tired to sniff properly. Somewhere, a drum is tapped slowly. One of the older men starts singing again. You realize that's just gonna be a thing now. You'll hear him every night, and he will never improve. The stars begin to appear. 1, then 3, then dozens. The night sky blooms open like a lazy flower. The moon rises with no urgency. You stare at it for a while, not really thinking, just existing. Your mother lies next to you, breathing slow, her side rising and falling like a soft dune. She don't say anything, of course she doesn't, but her warmth reaches you, even through the dust, even through the silence. And in that moment, you were not thirsty, you were not tired, you were not annoyed by Grur or the boy who keeps petting you with oily hands. You were simply there, one tiny creature in a vast and shifting desert, heart beating slowly, eyelids heavy, listening to the world hum around you. You blink once, then again, and then the stars fade, not because they disappear, but because you do.
You wake up with sand in your ear, not around your ear or near your ear, in your ear. Somehow, despite sleeping upright, nestled beside your mother, surrounded by the quiet grumbling of half-conscious camels, the sand has taken the liberty of exploring your inner cavities. You shake your head. Nothing happens. You shake again. The sand stays. Well, good morning to you too. Around you, the world is still waking. A rooster crows, which is impressive because no one brought a rooster. Somewhere, a goat has found a tin bowl and is making rhythmic clangs with its hoofs. The humans are already moving about, groaning, stretching, spitting into the sand like it owes them money. The fires from last night are now smoking lumps, and someone is poking one with a stick in the vain hope that it will cook breakfast from sheer guilt. But your attention is drawn to the camels, specifically the elder ones. They sit like statues, long-legged, dignified, smelly statues, chewing the same wad of half-digested plant matter they've had since yesterday. Their expressions are blank in a way that suggests deep philosophical thought, or just existential boredom. One of them, a particularly worn-looking male with patches of missing fur and a nose ring that dangles like a forgotten door knocker, notices you. You freeze. He squints. His eyes narrow in a way that seems judgmental. Then, with great effort, he makes a low, grinding noise deep in his throat. It might be a greeting, or a threat, or maybe just a burp. Still, it feels like an invitation, so you shuffle over, your legs only slightly more cooperative than yesterday. He watches your approach with no sense of urgency. You stop a respectful distance away. He snorts. Then, slowly, like the desert itself has granted him permission, he begins to speak. Not with words, of course. Camels don't use sentences, but with gestures, grunts, expressive ear twitches, and the occasional eyebrow lift, you begin your first real lesson in camelhood. He teaches you how to chew with purpose, not just for food, but for drama. How to flick your tail in just the right rhythm to annoy nearby goats. How to shift your weight when kneeling so your joints don't feel like rusted hinges. He shows you how to pretend to be asleep when humans approach, and how to spit with tactical precision, not out of anger, but to send a message. You're entranced. This is the real curriculum. None of that walking in a line nonsense. This is ancient knowledge, passed down from hump to hump, generation to generation. The art of camel attitude. Soon, others join in. A grandmother with a limp shares her secret for getting out of carrying too much weight. Walks slightly crooked, so the load always tilts off. A trio of grumpy uncles debate the best posture for resting without looking lazy. And one young camel, too young to be helpful, shows off by licking a cactus. It ends predictably. You don't contribute. Not yet. You're still absorbing, learning, watching the way they move, the subtle ways they communicate. It's less about sound and more about presence. Camels speak with silence, with long glances and even longer sighs. You practice sighing for the first time. It comes out as more of a wheeze, but they nod approvingly. Then comes the important part, chewing. Not eating, chewing. A true camel must look like they're always reconsidering something important. So you pick up a bit of old scrub, place it in your mouth, and chew slowly, thoughtfully, like you're contemplating the meaning of sand. The elder nods again. You're getting it. One camel shows you how to rest one eye while keeping the other vaguely open, useful for pretending to care during human conversations. Another teaches the famous camel groan, a low, dramatic complaint noise used in almost every situation, including but not limited to standing up, sitting down, being looked at, and existing. You practice, awkwardly at first. Your groan comes out as a hiccup, then a sneeze, then finally a real one. A beautiful, resonant, sand-shaking groan that earns a proud snort from the entire circle. You're now, officially, one of them. The sun is climbing again, lazy and cruel. The humans begin tying ropes, cinching bags, brushing off sand from their maps and their dreams. One of them walks by with a bundle of dates and drops a few in the sand. Grob beats you to them. You make a note to trip him later. Soon, it's time to move. Again. But this time, you walk with purpose. Not because your legs are stronger, though they are, but because you've been initiated. You are no longer a helpless newborn. You are a camel. A member of the Brotherhood of Humps, the Keepers of Grumbles, the original desert philosophers. You take your place near the middle this time. A promotion, maybe. Or just bad luck. The humans strap a lightweight bundle to your back. It smells like onions. You try not to breathe too deeply.
As you walk, the older camels around you begin their chants. Not singing, not really, but a low, rhythmic hum that rises and falls with your steps. You fall into the rhythm. Hoof, breath, sway, chew, groan, repeat. The sand changes color as you go, pale gold in the morning, copper by midday. Occasionally you pass bones, bleached white ribs sticking up like forgotten fence posts. You don't ask, the others don't tell. The desert has no funeral rites. It only remembers in dunes. A breeze picks up. It carries the scent of something foreign, maybe citrus, maybe distant cities. You lift your head and sniff. It disappears. Teasing. You trudge on. Hours pass in a blur of heat and motion. The humans complain about things they can't control. The goats get into an argument with a barrel. A donkey falls over dramatically and refuses to get up until bribed with melon rind. Standard caravan fare. Then, in the late afternoon, a tiny miracle, an oasis. Not a mirage, a real one. Palm trees, shimmering water, birds that aren't vultures. You almost laugh. The humans cheer. The camels, well, we just grunt and increase our pace by 3%. That's how you know we are excited. As you reach the edge, the humans rush forward, splashing into the shallows like children. The camels take our time. We don't trust sudden fortune. But eventually, one by one, you step into the cool water. It's heaven. You dunk your snout, swallow mouthfuls of the slightly muddy, delicious liquid, and let it dribble down your chin. You wade in deeper, up to your knees, and just stand there, cooling, breathing, existing. A bird lands on your back. You let it. Why not? Nearby, the elders gather again. You approach, cautiously. They nod at you to join. This time, they don't teach. They just sit, together, chewing in rhythm, letting the heat pass over them like a story they've already heard. You sit too. Not because you're tired, though you are, but because you understand now. This is part of the life. The march, the sand, the humans, the loads, the spitting, and the silence. It all adds up to this moment, a brief pause in a quiet pool, surrounded by others who know exactly how your knees feel. You exhale. Not a sigh, just a release. The sun dips lower, casting the palm trees into shadow. The humans begin setting up camp again, arguing about firewood and blankets. The goats have climbed the tree for no reason. You close your eyes. Sand still in your ear, water on your hoofs, and not a single thought worth rushing.
The next morning comes without warning. No sunrise ceremony, no soft lullaby from birds or breeze, just the abrupt return of heat. Like someone threw open the oven door and said, "All right, let's try again." You open your eyes to find a goat standing directly in front of your face, chewing something with too much confidence. It stares at you, makes a noise that sounds suspiciously judgmental, then trots away with a tail flick that feels personal. The oasis is already a memory. The humans are packing, though half-heartedly. They've grown used to this life. Lifting, folding, tying, complaining. It's all choreography now. One of them drops a clay cup. It shatters. No one flinches. You stand without instruction. Your joints ache less than yesterday, which is either improvement or numbness. You're not sure. Your mother is already up, her fur damp with dew in a way that somehow makes her smell worse. She snorts at you, like she dreamt you stepped on her. The camels begin assembling, not in rows. Camels don't do neat rows. More like a scattered mob that eventually finds its line through sheer disinterest and disorder. The elder who taught you how to chew with meaning gives you a look that might be pride or indigestion. And just like that, the march begins again. This time, it's longer. Or maybe it just feels that way because there's no breeze. The air is thick with stillness. Every step kicks up a puff of dust that sticks to your snout, to your lashes, to the inside of your ears. You walk beside Gurr again. He hasn't improved. Still bitter, still drooling. At one point, he pretends to trip just so his load shifts onto yours. Classic Gurr. You grunt and nudge him back. He spits. You spit. The humans notice none of this. Camel politics are invisible to them. Your feet fall into rhythm, that old hypnotic pattern. Hoof, hoof, swish, bell, repeat. The ground changes gradually. Less soft sand, more packed dirt and jagged stones. It forces you to watch your step more carefully. The elder camels step precisely, like desert ballerinas. You try to mimic them. Once, you succeed. Twice, you nearly fall into a thorn bush. The bush wins. You carry 3 twigs in your fur for the rest of the day. By midday, you've stopped measuring time in hours and started measuring it in groans. 1 groan per milestone. 4 groans since the last goat fight. 2 since a human dropped a sack of lentils. You consider inventing a new groan scale, something to pass the time. Then you realize something. The humans are singing.
The next morning comes without warning. No sunrise ceremony, no soft lullaby from birds or breeze, just the abrupt return of heat, like someone threw open the oven door and said, "All right, let's try again." You open your eyes to find a goat standing directly in front of your face, chewing something with too much confidence. It stares at you, makes a noise that sounds suspiciously judgmental, then trots away with a tail flick that feels personal. The oasis is already a memory. The humans are packing, though half-heartedly. They've grown used to this life.
Lifting, folding, tying, complaining. It's all choreography now. One of them drops a clay cup. It shatters. No one flinches. You stand without instruction. Your joints ache less than yesterday, which is either improvement or numbness. You're not sure. Your mother is already up, her fur damp with dew in a way that somehow makes her smell worse. She snorts at you like she dreamt you stepped on her. The camels begin assembling, not in rows. Camels don't do neat rows, more like a scattered mob that eventually finds its line through sheer disinterest in disorder. The elder who taught you how to chew with meaning gives you a look that might be pride or indigestion. And just like that, the march begins again. This time, it's longer. Or maybe it just feels that way because there's no breeze. The air is thick with stillness. Every step kicks up a puff of dust that sticks to your snout, to your lashes, to the inside of your ears. You walk beside Gruh again. He hasn't improved. Still bitter, still drooling. At one point, he pretends to trip just so his load shifts onto yours. Classic Gruh. You grunt and nudge him back. He spits, you spit. The humans notice none of this. Camel politics are invisible to them. Your feet fall into rhythm, that old hypnotic pattern. Hoof, huff, swish, bell, repeat. The ground changes gradually. Less soft sand, more packed dirt and jagged stones. It forces you to watch your step more carefully. The elder camels step precisely, like desert ballerinas. You try to mimic them. Once, you succeed. Twice, you nearly fall into a thorn bush. The bush wins. You carry 3 twigs in your fur for the rest of the day. By midday, you've stopped measuring time in hours and started measuring it in groans. 1 groan per milestone. 4 groans since the last goat fight. 2 since a human dropped a sack of lentils. You consider inventing a new groan scale, something to pass the time. Then you realize something. The humans are singing.
The terrain shifts again. Low dunes, rolling like frozen waves. The caravan weaves between them, curving like a ribbon in the wind. Occasionally, you glimpse the front of the line, a white flag fluttering from a stick, held by a man on a donkey who clearly thinks he's more important than he is. The sun begins to slide. The sky changes color, not dramatically, but enough that you notice. The blue softens. A blush of pink gathers at the edges. Shadows stretch longer, leaner. You welcome them like old friends. Then, out of nowhere, the goat, the same goat who judged you this morning, appears beside you. It bleats loudly. Then it starts trotting in circles. You speed up, it speeds up. You slow down, it matches. You groan. The goat is playing a game. You are the unwilling contestant. Eventually, the goat is chased off by one of the humans who throws a sandal and misses by several time zones. The goat rejoins its kin, triumphant. You consider plotting revenge, but you're too tired to plot. Camp is made again. This time, there's no water, just dust, lots of dust. You kneel, lie down, and stretch your neck with the exaggerated flair of someone who has worked harder than everyone else. No one notices. Typical. Dinner smells like lentils and desperation. The camels are given dried grain, slightly damp. You chew slowly, reflectively, like you're thinking about taxes. The elder sits beside you again. No words, just presence. The stars come out, one by one. A distant jackal howls. The humans don't flinch. Neither do you. You lie on your side. The sand is warm now, like a slowly cooling stove. You close your eyes. For a moment, you forget the aches. Forget the goat. Forget the way your load has been slipping sideways all day. There's only rhythm, only breathing, only the quiet sound of a caravan sleeping beneath a sky older than memory.
You wake up to the scent of something sweet. Not overwhelmingly sweet, just the faint trace of sugar carried on the breeze, like a memory trying to sneak into your nose. It's the kind of scent that makes you open your eyes slowly, curiously, wondering if you're dreaming of food again. Turns out, it's not a dream. Someone's dropped a satchel of dried dates and crushed them into the sand. A goat is licking the remnants with wild abandon, eyes glazed over as if it's discovered spiritual enlightenment in fruit paste. You consider investigating, but the humans are already gathering things, tying ropes, adjusting bundles, complaining about missing water skins. The sun hasn't fully climbed yet, but it's stretching, getting ready to do what it does best: burn everything evenly. Your joints complain as you stand. The spot where your load rubbed yesterday is sore. You shift your weight a few times, trying to find a way to carry discomfort more gracefully. Beside you, your mother is already chewing, despite the absence of actual food in her mouth. Some habits never rest. Today, the caravan starts early. That usually means one thing: a long day ahead. You fall into line somewhere in the middle again, not by choice, just by the casual flow of camel movement. The ground is soft at first, sandy, forgiving, but you've learned enough to know that softness is always a lie. It won't last. You begin walking, and that scent returns. Dates. The humans up front are munching on them, tossing pits aside like careless kings. One bounces off your hoof. You blink. Another pit lands a few steps ahead. You pause, pick it up with your lips, and chew. It's hard. Too hard. You spit it out, immediately regret nothing, and continue walking. But the seed has been planted. Not the pit, the idea. You're now aware of food. That's dangerous. Camels are famously patient, but that doesn't mean we forget things. You spend the next half hour distracted, sniffing the air, watching the humans' hands, wondering who will drop the next bite. Your focus is so intense that you don't notice the path beginning to slope. It's subtle at first, the kind of incline that makes your knees adjust without asking your permission. Then it becomes more noticeable. Your hooves dig deeper with each step. The sand shifts under you in loose trickles. The wind picks up, carrying grit straight into your eyes. You blink. Once. Twice. Still there. Nature's exfoliation. Soon, you crest a ridge, and suddenly, it all opens up. Before you stretches a small oasis. Real this time. No mirage. You recognize it by the way the older camels react. Ears perked, strides lengthening, necks craning forward with something that might almost be hope. Palm trees dot the edges like sleepy guards. The water is shallow, shimmering like a dream someone remembered just in time. The humans gasp, which is rare. The goats sprint ahead, one tripping over its own enthusiasm and landing face first in a patch of reeds. You walk toward it slowly, cautiously dignified. A young camel runs past you, slips, and splashes into the edge of the pool. The elders groan in disapproval. You smile on the inside. When it's your turn, you step into the shallows. The water is warm at the edges, but cooler deeper in. You lower your head and drink. It tastes like mud and plant stems and life. You drink until your stomach reminds you there is a limit to how much it can hold. You ignore that limit briefly, then you stop.
The humans unpack quickly. Tops are spread. Baskets opened. Someone starts cooking something that smells like lentil mush with too much garlic. Another begins washing socks, an act that seems unnecessary in a world where everything is dust. The camels, as usual, settle near the water, chewing whatever they can find. Grass, reeds, their own thoughts. You sit beside your mother, who is now licking the bark of a palm tree with slow determination. You try the same. It tastes like disappointment. Then comes something unexpected. Play! A young camel, barely older than you, nudges your side with its head. You glance at it. It nudges again, more insistently. Then it hops sideways, makes a goofy noise, and gallops in a circle. You stare. It pauses, looks back, clearly inviting you. You hesitate. Camels don't play very often. It's not that we can't, it's just that we usually choose not to. But today, the sand is soft, The water is cool, and your legs are light. So you run. Well, you attempt to run. Your legs flail in an enthusiastic, barely controlled sprint. The young camel takes off, and you follow, circling the oasis like uncoordinated whirlwinds. The elders groan. A human laughs. One of the goats watches with what might be respect. You chase. You're chased. You trip. You rise. Your hooves fling sand. Your mouth opens in what might be a smile, if camels did that sort of thing. For a few minutes, the desert doesn't matter. There is no burden, no march, no heat, just the rush of movement, the thrill of bouncing steps, the strange joy of pointless running. Eventually, you stop, both of you panting, chewing nothing, standing still, acknowledging each other with a lazy blink. That's camel friendship. A blink, a grunt, and a shared silence. As the sun begins to dip, the humans gather around a fire. They're roasting something. The smell is complex, smoky, oily, and vaguely herbal. You lie down beside your mother again, listening to the murmur of voices, the pop of oil in the pan, the crackling of firewood that probably shouldn't be burning that quickly. Then, out of nowhere, someone tosses something your way. It lands in the sand near your front hoof. You sniff. A date. A whole one. You hesitate. Look around. No other camel saw. You nudge it with your nose. It's soft, sweet-smelling. You pick it up gently, bite through the skin, and chew slowly. It's delicious, sugary, slightly fermented, like sunlight turned into a fruit. The pit you spit into the sand with practiced grace. You look up. The human boy is watching you. He grins. You grunt. Evening falls with that golden softness you've started to love. The light wraps around everything like a warm blanket. The camels shift, stretch, settle. The humans sing again, another off-key lullaby to themselves. One of them starts dancing, badly. The others pretend not to notice. The air cools. The stars emerge. Your eyelids grow heavy. Before sleep takes you, you remember the date. You decide that tomorrow you'll walk a little faster, just in case another one drops. Because in this wide, dusty world, sometimes the smallest sweetness is all it takes to keep going. The morning begins with a song. Not a good one, mind you. It's the kind of song that sounds like someone trying to gargle gravel while holding a note. One of the humans, probably the older man with the big teeth and the even bigger head wrap, has decided that dawn is the perfect time to serenade the caravan. He's walking between the tents, holding a battered lute and plucking its strings with the rhythm of a limping chicken. You open one eye, then the other. Regret both. The tune is a mix of love ballad and recipe list. Something about cumin, a beautiful woman, and a stolen jug of olive oil. You're not sure if it's a metaphor or just lunch plans. Either way, it's too early. You try to go back to sleep, but the damage is done. The camp is awake. The camels are groaning. Goats are complaining. And someone has already spilled a bag of lentils. Again. You rise slowly. The ground is cooler than usual, still holding the last of the night's breath. Your knees pop, loudly. Grr shoots you a glance as if offended by the noise. You ignore him. You've decided he doesn't get to judge anyone after last night's incident with the cactus. The image of him trying to chew it, then regretting it immediately, still brings you mild joy. The humans are busy preparing for departure. They move around like ants that misplace their map. There's always too much to carry and never enough rope. One man insists on balancing a crate of dried lemons on top of a crate of mirrors. It ends how you'd expect. Soon enough, your load is packed. Not too heavy today, just a bundle of embroidered fabrics that smell faintly of cardamom and ambition. You accept it with a grunt and line up as the caravan prepares to move. The boy pats your neck again. He does that now, as if he's his, which you are,
But still, you begin walking. The landscape stretches ahead in an unbroken line of pale gold. No oases, no trees, just dunes that rise and fall like the rhythm of some sleeping giant's breath. The wind is low today, barely enough to move your fur, but just enough to carry sound. You hear the bell tied to the lead camel, jingling faintly, like a metronome for exhaustion. Today's path is long but gentle. The sun rises steadily, not yet cruel, but promising cruelty soon. You find your rhythm again. It's in your legs now. You don't think about walking anymore. You just move. Step, step, breath, chew, step, step. The human song from earlier still lingers in your mind. You catch yourself humming it, not out loud. Camels don't hum. But there's a sway in your steps, a kind of echo in your ears. Maybe that was the point of the song. Not beauty, just rhythm. Something to hold on to when everything else is sand. Around midday, the caravan crests a low ridge and comes upon a scattering of tents. Not your tents.
These are older, frayed, stitched with strange patterns and fluttering bits of cloth. A trading camp. Temporary, but vivid. People move between stalls made of blankets and hope. The air is thick with smells. Grilled meat, sharp vinegar, rose oil, and something that reminds you of burned sugar. The humans cheer up, loudly. The camels, less so. Trading posts mean one thing: being unloaded and poked at. As soon as the caravan stops, your rope is tugged. You kneel, grudgingly. The fabrics are removed from your back and immediately examined by a man with a squint and more rings than fingers. He sniffs the cloth, holds it up to the light, mutters something, and offers a bag of something that smells like dried fish. Apparently, this is considered a fair trade. You stay where you are, watching. There's a rhythm to trading. Not just the bartering, the whole thing. Voices rise, hands wave. Someone always yells about being cheated, and children dart between legs like desert lizards. The humans argue with strangers over prices, while others sip tea and pretend not to listen. The most absurd part: the singing. Yes, more singing. Apparently, some of these traders believe that music makes the spices stronger, or the deals better, or maybe they just enjoy being loud. A group of 3 men with stringed instruments begin a song about a princess who fell in love with a basket of dates. You don't try to understand it. The worst part: one of them is actually good. His voice rises above the others, clear, rich, full of something like sadness wrapped in honey. Even the camels pause. Even Gurra. The song drifts into the sky and wraps around the tents like a breeze you didn't notice until it was gone. You watch the boy. He's bartering with the woman covered in scarves and silver bracelets. He's holding something wrapped in cloth, gesturing excitedly. She nods. They trade. He walks away smiling. He comes to you. In his hand is a small pouch. He opens it and pulls out a dried fig. He holds it near your mouth. You sniff. He nods. You take it. Sweet, chewy, with just the right amount of grit from the road. You chew slowly, staring at him. He grins, scratches your nose, and walks away. You don't say thank you. You're a camel, but you remember. Eventually, the caravan prepares to move again. This time, your back is left empty. You glance around. Are you being replaced? Retired? Left? But no. The boy walks beside you now, leading you with a loose rope, not loaded, not pulling, just walking. Freedom? For a while at least. You march forward together. The tents disappear behind you. The dunes return. The sky grows pink at the edges. Evening approaches. As you walk, the boy begins to hum. Not the gravel song from earlier, the honey sad one from the trade post. He doesn't know the words, but the tune floats out, soft and broken, like a lullaby with its shoes on the wrong feet. You listen. You walk. You chew a little leftover fig stuck in your teeth. And for the first time, you realize this boy isn't just your owner. He's your human. Yours. You glance sideways. He's still humming. You blink slowly. Accept it. Then keep walking as the sun lowers itself gently into the sand and the stars rehearse their entrance behind a veil of rose-colored haze.
Later that night, you're dozing near the edge of camp, head tucked loosely beneath your shoulder, when a shadow moves beside you. Tall, slow, quiet. Not human, not goat. Something in between. You open one eye and see him. The one-eyed camel. You've heard whispers, of course. Every caravan has its collection of stories, traded around campfires like bits of cracked pottery. Some say he's the oldest camel to ever live. Others say he's been traded more times than a lucky coin. A few claim he once crossed the desert alone. 3 weeks, no water, only his shadow for company. And then there's the really absurd story that he's seen the city of brass, the one hidden by mirage and myth, guarded by fire spirits and buried beneath a dome of gold. You'd think that last one might be a joke. But here he is, real as the sand in your ears. One eye, milky and blank. The other, dark and alert. His fur is patchy, sun-bleached in some places, soot-dark in others. His legs are long and slightly crooked, like someone carved them from leftover tree limbs. He stops beside you, doesn't sit, doesn't speak. You blink, slowly. He huffs through his nostrils and finally lowers himself, bones creaking like an old saddle. He settles in silence. The stars glint above. The humans are still fussing with their tents and tea. Somewhere off to the side, someone's playing a flute badly, and the notes scattle like frightened birds. The old camel turns his head towards you. You walk loud, he says. The voice is rough, more felt than heard, like sand blowing against your thoughts. You bristle. I'm new. He chews, slowly, always slowly. New is no excuse, he mutters. The sand listens. You're not sure what that means, but you nod anyway. It feels like the kind of sentence you're supposed to nod at. Did you know, he continues, voice drifting like smoke, that the dunes move while you sleep? That they creep, inch by inch, trying to whisper things into your ears? You glance at the closest dune. It looks innocent, but now you're suspicious. He says, they told me once about a river under the sand, a black river, cold as forgetting. They say if you walk the wrong path long enough, it finds you, pulls you down like a memory you thought you'd buried.
The one-eyed camel scratches his side with a casual twist of his neck, then returns to chewing. You watch his mouth move. You try to mimic the rhythm. Yours is too fast. You're thinking too hard, he adds, not looking at you. Stop thinking. Chew. That's what we do. He continues, his voice softer now, low and dry like old parchment. I once walked with a caravan that followed the stars instead of the sun. Said the stars are more honest, less likely to boil your eyeballs. We wandered for 6 nights straight, didn't see a single palm tree. Just sand and stars, and a man who claimed he could smell gold. He couldn't. You make a polite grunt. That seems to encourage him. Another time, he says, I walked with a woman who talked to her camel like it was her brother, told it secrets, sang it lullabies. When the caravan got attacked by jackals, that camel bit one clean in half. I think he was flattered. You raise an eyebrow. Camels don't usually bite jackals. But then again, this is a one-eyed camel telling stories in the dark. He sighs, a deep, slow, sand-worn sigh. I've carried spices that made princes sneeze. I've stepped over bones no one buried. I've been traded for salt, for honey, for a single red feather someone said was lucky. He finally looks at you with his one good eye. It gleams, not with light, but with something older, knowledge maybe, or regret. But nothing, he says, nothing is stranger than the things humans do when they think we're not watching. You nod. That much you've seen yourself. Today, he continues, I saw one of them cry into a bowl of lentils, then eat it anyway. You try not to laugh, but a small puff of air escapes your nose. Exactly, he grunts. They're complicated. Too many feelings. That's why we keep chewing. Chewing is honest. Chewing doesn't pretend. The wind picks up slightly. The flap of a nearby tent flutters. A few humans shuffle by with blankets. One trips over a rope and curses the concept of knots in 3 languages. You lie down beside the old camel. Not too close, just enough to feel the warmth of his presence. Tell me about the city of brass, you murmur, not sure why you say it. He doesn't move, doesn't answer, just chews. You wait. Then, after a long pause, you wouldn't believe me. Try me. He breathes through his nose. Then quietly, it smells like cinnamon and rust. That's all I'll say. You nod again. Somehow that makes perfect sense. For a long time you sit in silence. Not awkward silence. Camels don't do awkward. Just long, stretching, moon-washed silence. Finally, he shifts slightly, groaning as his joints complain. You'll learn, he says, voice nearly a whisper. Just keep walking. Don't listen to the dunes. Don't trust the goats. And never, ever eat yellow berries. With that, he slowly lowers his head to the sand, exhales a long, final puff, and closes his eye. You stay awake a little longer, watching the sky. The stars have shifted. The dunes look different now, slightly closer, slightly taller. You blink, once, twice, and then sleep comes, as soft as a date pit tucked into warm sand. The morning does not arrive so much as it reveals itself, slowly, like a secret whispered across the dunes. The stars fade, not all at once, but one by one, slipping behind a pale veil of yellowing light. The sky grows pale, then gold, then harsh. And just like that, the day is back, and the desert is awake. You open your eyes and stretch your neck, feeling a satisfying crack in a vertebra that definitely wasn't there when you were born. Beside you, the one-eyed camel is already up, staring into the distance like he's been awake for centuries. Maybe he has. You blink at him. He does not blink back. The boy appears, rope in hand, and you feel the familiar tug of obligation. But today, your legs feel heavier. Not sore, not injured, just slow, like the rhythm of movement hasn't caught up with your bones yet. You stand anyway, joints creaking, lips twitching in a preemptive sigh. The humans are hurried this morning. Something in the air, an urgency maybe. Their movements are sharp, their voices clipped. One of them points east, muttering about the wind. Another ties everything twice, then checks it again, muttering about nothing. Your mother doesn't seem to notice. She chews her breakfast like she's chewing through time itself. Gur sneezes, then immediately starts bullying a younger camel out of a patch of shade. All is normal. You're loaded quickly this time. 2 sacks of grain, a coil of rope, and something wrapped tightly in red cloth that smells suspiciously like old fish. You decide not to question it. Questions never help. Then, the march begins. It starts like every other morning. Groans, bell jingles,
soft sand crunches. The sun rises with theatrical cruelty, climbing higher and higher like a performer determined to steal every scene. Within minutes, sweat beads beneath your fur. The rope tugs slightly tighter against your chest. But the wind is changing. It begins as a whisper, brushing against your ears with the faintest hiss. Then it thickens, picks up stray grains of sand, and flicks them gently against your nose. You blink. The air has a taste now, chalky, sharp, metallic. And the humans start looking over their shoulders more than usual. The one-eyed camel mutters something that sounds like, "Hurry." That's when you feel it. A pressure in the sky. Like the air itself is tensing, holding its breath. The wind grows stronger, less playful. It pulls at your ears, then your fur, then your thoughts. Sand dances along the ground in thin, erratic patterns. The rhythm of the caravan falters. Hooves hesitate. Humans begin shouting, but not at each other. Not today. They're shouting at the sky. The boy runs past you, toward the front, yelling something. A man holds up a piece of cloth that immediately whips from his hands and disappears. Another man drops to his knees to tie something and nearly vanishes in a swirl of dust. The storm arrives with no announcement, no dramatic thunderclap, just volume. Wind, sharp and unrelenting, tears across the dunes, pulling the sky downward. Sand swirls up in great spirals, blocking vision, filling mouths, scouring skin. The world becomes beige, then brown, then gone. You freeze. You've never seen anything like this. The sky is gone, the ground is gone, the caravan is gone. You are alone. A rope jerks at your chest and you stumble forward, trying to follow it. But where? Everything is swirling noise and sting. You lower your head, squinting against the blast. Sand stings your nostrils, your eyes, even your ears. You can feel it in your throat, in the hollows behind your knees. It's everywhere. You try to walk. Step. Push. Brace. Another step. Shapes flicker in the storm. Shadows of camels, fragments of humans, pieces of tents flying past like angry birds. You catch a glimpse of your mother, her eyes closed, head down, legs braced like a statue weathering time. And then she's gone again, swallowed by dust. You panic. Your breath quickens. You yank against the rope, trying to stay upright, trying not to lose contact with something, anything. But the rope has gone slack. You are unmoored. For a few terrifying moments, you are adrift. No up, no down, just sand and pressure and roar. Then, hoofbeats. You hear them before you see anything. A slow, steady rhythm, impossibly calm. Through the haze, a shape emerges. Long legs, crooked frame, one eye. The old camel walks past you like the storm is a suggestion. His steps are deliberate, his head low, his mouth chewing steadily. You move toward him instinctively. He doesn't look at you, just mutters, "Follow the wind until it forgets your name." That means nothing, but also everything. So you follow. Step by step, breath by breath, you mirror his movements. Low head, short steps. Let the wind push around you, not against you. Don't fight, don't resist, just move. You walk for what feels like hours, but could be minutes. Gradually, the storm begins to break. Not all at once, but in pieces. A patch of lighter sky, a flicker of sunlight. Then, in the distance, the low hum of voices. The caravan re-emerges from the dust, tattered but intact. The boy finds you. He rushes forward, grabs your neck, buries his face against your side. You blink, confused. He murmurs something. A word. A name, maybe? Yours, or maybe someone else's. Either way, his hands are shaking. You let him cling. Around you, the others stumble in, camels blinking, humans coughing, goats traumatized beyond their usual baseline. Someone's tent is wrapped around a bush. A sack of dates has exploded all over the sand, now more grit than fruit. But you're all here. Even Gruch, who appears dragging an entire broken crate on one hoof, looking profoundly annoyed at the universe. The boy leads you to kneel. You lower yourself gratefully. Your knees ache. Your throat burns. Your fur is matted with sand. But you're upright. You're breathing. You learn something. Storms are not just weather in the desert. They are memory tests. Tests of rhythm, of breath, of instinct. And today, you passed. The one-eyed camel settles near you again. His eye is closed, but he's still chewing. Of course he is. You sit quietly beside him, watching the wind settle, watching the humans retie everything they thought was secure. The storm has stolen ropes, cracked crates, bruised egos. But the caravan moves forward. Always forward. The sun reappears, softer now, filtered through the lingering haze. You stretch your neck and exhale a long, slow breath. It carries a little sand, a little relief, and just a flicker of pride. The one-eyed camel finally opens his eye and says, "Told you the dunes talk." You nod. You believe him now.
That night, the camp is unusually quiet. Not solemn, just hushed, as if the storm has swept the noise away, along with the loose tarps and the crushed baskets of spice. The humans sit in tighter circles than usual, sipping their bitter tea in silence, their eyes darting occasionally to the horizon, as if expecting another swirl of dust to rise from the dunes. The goats, normally chaotic and enthusiastic about everything from lentils to empty jugs, have curled into themselves like anxious clouds. Even the dog, usually all bark and bravado, is pacing with a low whine, as though it too remembers how the world disappeared earlier today. You lie beside your mother. She's asleep already, her side rising and falling with a rhythm so slow it almost seems fake. She has mastered the art of not caring. You admire her for it. Across from you, the one-eyed camel snores like gravel being dragged through a clay pot. Grr is mumbling in his sleep, something about stolen water skins and a goat conspiracy. You're not convinced he's wrong. And you're not quite ready to sleep. The sky tonight is cleaner than it has been in days. The storm has scrubbed the air of its haze, and the stars have returned in full. They stretch across the sky like scattered salt, sharp and unbothered, blinking down at your tiny circle of life. So you stay awake, and you listen, because there's something different tonight. Not just in the sky, or the sand, or even in the breathing of the caravan. No, it's the sound of the desert itself. A hum, a hush, a kind of vibration in the air, like the desert has exhaled and is finally settling again. You can feel it through your belly, pressed to the warm ground. It travels through you, not loud, not urgent, just present. And in that hum, you hear things. Far-off jackals calling to one another across invisible valleys, the faint rustle of dry plants shifting under the wind, and then, more faintly still, the soft rhythm of human voices. Whispers. You perk up slightly, ears twitching. A group of humans is gathered around the fire. The flames are low, casting tall shadows across the sand. They're speaking in a hushed tone,
sharing something between them, a story, maybe, a memory. You can't understand the words, but the shape of the conversation is familiar. Rounded edges, slow cadence, occasional laughter like cracked bells. You shift closer, just enough to hear more clearly. The boy is there, sitting cross-legged, hugging a blanket that's too small for him now. His face is half lit, mouth moving slowly, eyes wide. He's telling the story of the storm. You hear your name. Well, what passes for your name? The word they use for you is a mash of syllables that vaguely translates to soft foot, or maybe the one who blinks slowly. You're not offended. There are worse names. He gestures broadly, imitating your walk, your face during the storm, your miraculous reappearance out of the dust. The others laugh gently. One of them offers him a fig. He accepts, then tucks half of it into his pouch, the one he always carries when walking beside you. You blink slowly. You remember the storm too. The way the world vanished, the way your thoughts scattered, and the way you found the one-eyed camel walking calmly through the chaos like it was just another Tuesday.
You glance at him again. He's still snoring. Maybe it was just another Tuesday for him. Eventually, the humans settle down. Blankets are stretched. A final round of tea is poured. The fire crackles low. You rest your head against the sand and let your eyes close halfway, hovering in that space between waking and sleep. And then the jackals begin to sing. Not howling, singing. It starts with one, high and lonely. Then another joins, lower, slower. Then a third. They rise and fall in dissonant harmony, their voices echoing across the open space like a choir of ghosts. The camels don't stir. They're used to this. You've heard it before too, but tonight it sounds different. Not threatening, not mournful, just old, like a song that predates language. You close your eyes fully and let it wash over you. When morning comes, it does so gently. The sun rises like it knows everyone is still tired. The light filters through the dunes, golden and soft, casting long shadows and waking the camp with kindness for once. You stretch your legs one by one. A satisfying pop in the front left, a slight ache in the rear right, but nothing serious. Your body is starting to understand the demands of this life, even if your brain still resents waking up before breakfast. The humans move slowly too. No rush today. No urgent whisper about wind or weather. They pack at a casual pace, folding blankets and rolling tarps with sleepy hands. One man sings, softly this time, and the others let him. No lute, no rhythm, just a quiet tune that trails off into the morning air like steam from warm tea. You're loaded again, lightly this time. A bag of beans and a rolled carpet that smells like cinnamon and dog hair. You tolerate it. The boy checks your straps twice. He pats your neck. Doesn't say anything. He doesn't need to. You begin walking. And as you walk, the world feels different. You notice things more. The shape of the dunes, how some curve gently, like smiles, while others rise sharp and crooked like broken promises. The pattern of the hoofprints left behind, some deep and confident, others soft and hesitant, like questions pressed into the earth. You even notice the wind, still here, always here, but softer now, brushing past you like a passing thought, carrying the scent of dates, sweat, and something distant, maybe rain, though that's likely just wishful thinking. Ahead, the caravan stretches forward again, an uneven line of fabric, fur, and fatigue. But now, when you look at it, you don't see chaos. You see pattern. You see rhythm, the swaying of humps,
The jangling of bells, the occasional shout, the random bleat. It's all part of the song now. You don't have to like every note, but you know the melody. And as you walk, a new thought settles gently into the back of your mind. You're not just surviving this journey anymore. You're becoming part of it. Not because you chose it, not because you asked for it, but because step by step, sun after sun, storm after storm, the sand has taught you its one rule. Keep moving. No matter how loud the wind howls, no matter how many stars vanish, no matter how heavy the load, keep moving. So you do. And somewhere behind you, the wind sighs like a teacher finally satisfied with your progress.
The day stretches long and flat, like a breath held too long. The kind of day where time doesn't tick, it drips. Every second is thick and slow, melting into the next like dates left in the sun. You walk, as always, hoof after hoof, step after swaying step. The caravan moves forward at its usual speed, not fast, not slow, just inevitable. There is no destination announced, no final camp to count toward. The desert does not believe in finish lines, only continuance. The terrain changes subtly. The golden dunes fade into pale, hardened stretches of earth. The sand becomes crusty, cracked, dry in a different way, less powdery, more brittle, like walking across giant flakes of old skin. The sound changes too. Your hooves make dull pocks against the earth instead of the gentle hush of sand. You enter the salt flats. They stretch in all directions, blinding white, flat as sleep. There are no curves here, no trees, no bumps, no refuge, just the vast, blank page where even the sky seems hesitant to leave a shadow. The sun glares above you, furious and silent. You squint beneath your lashes. The air doesn't move. There's no wind here, only heat and light. The salt crystals crackle beneath your feet, crunching like broken glass. They coat your hooves, your ankles, the ends of your lashes. Even your nostrils begin to burn from the brightness. Your tongue dries faster than usual. You swallow. Nothing changes. This is the kind of place that feels like it was never meant to be walked upon, like the gods spilled their salt and forgot to clean it up. The humans suffer too. You can see it. Their lips are cracked. Their robes cling to their backs. The boy walks beside you still, but slower now. He wipes sweat from his brow with the same piece of cloth he's used for 3 days. It no longer pretends to be clean. One of the goats stops walking altogether and simply lies down mid-step. A man hoists it over his shoulder with a grunt and keeps walking, muttering curses that drift into the air like steam. Even the camels are quiet. You trudge onward. The one-eyed camel walks ahead of you today. Not fast, he never moves fast, but steady, deliberate, like his bones have memorized this stretch of land and know not to panic. His mouth moves rhythmically, but you don't think he's chewing. He's counting. 7, you hear him mutter. You blink. 7 what? He doesn't answer, just keeps moving, his lone eye fixed on something far beyond the visible horizon. By midday, your legs ache in new places. The salt reflects the sun upwards, and even the shadows feel hot. Your breath comes heavier. You chew nothing, but your jaw keeps moving out of habit or hope. The boy offers you water. Not much, just a shallow bowl. He pours it with shaking hands, careful not to spill. You sip, then nudge his arm. He smiles faintly and drinks the rest. The break is short. You rise again with effort. Knees stiff, neck sore, back itchy. A single beetle crosses your path. You admire its commitment.
By late afternoon, you stop watching the ground. There's nothing to see, just the same pale crust over and over. You begin watching your own shadow instead. It moves with you, stretching long behind, then to your side, then curling beneath you as the sun circles above like an impatient judge.
Eventually, you stop feeling your legs. They move without permission now. Muscle memory is the only memory that matters out here. You pass a pile of bones. White, clean, arranged oddly, as if someone tried to make a chair from misremembered anatomy. The boy looks away. The camels do not. Grrr groans theatrically and collapses for 10 full seconds before rising again with a sigh so loud it startles two birds in the flight. You envy his drama. Then, finally, a ripple. Not water, not salvation, just a shimmer on the horizon. Something vertical. Shapes. Tall, jagged, human-made. The outpost. It rises slowly as you approach, its edges wavering in the heat like a city dreaming of itself. Stone walls, chipped and sun-faded. A wooden gate held together by too much rope and not enough wood. Banners flap weakly overhead, their colors too faded to decipher. The caravan lets out a collective sigh. It's not safety, but it's pause. And in the desert, pause is luxury. You reach the gates and stop. The humans dismount. They argue briefly with the guards. Coins are exchanged, names shouted. A goat tries to escape and is tackled with surprising grace. You kneel with relief, the crusty salt pulling at your knees. Your whole body exhales. Not a breath, a release. The boy unties your load. You feel 20 stones lighter. He pats your neck again, gently this time. Then he pulls something from his pouch. Another fig. He doesn't say anything, just holds it up. You take it slowly. It tastes like victory, or at least like not dying. Around you, the outpost comes to life. Vendors shout, spices waft through the air, cumin, cinnamon, dried orange peel. A woman sings, her voice rising above the noise like steam from boiling tea. The humans gather into the crowd, trading, laughing, eating. Some disappear into canvas tents, others into stone-walled rooms. The camels remain. You and the others are led to a corner of the yard, shaded by half of a crumbling arch. There's water here, real water, in a trough deep enough to drown your regrets. You drink deeply, eyes half closed, lips slapping the surface like a blessing. The one-eyed camel joins you. He drinks, then sighs. His lone eye looks out across the yard. He says, 8. You glance at him. 8 what? He blinks slowly. 8 journeys across the salt flats. You nod, chewing your thoughts. Is that a lot? He shrugs, which in camel means everything and nothing. It's enough to know you never stop in the middle. Only fools sleep on salt. He settles down beside you, chewing something leafy and unidentifiable. You rest too. The sun begins to sink, dipping behind the walls of the outpost. The salt flats beyond turn gold, then rose, then ash. You close your eyes. Your belly is full of water. Your mouth tastes a fig. Your ears ring with silence, blessed and real. And somewhere in the yard, a musician plucks a tune on a battered stringed instrument. The notes wobble, then settle, then fade. The city hums like an overfed cat. For a moment, you forget the distance behind you. You forget the dunes, the wind, even the storm. You are here. You are resting. And tomorrow, the desert will ask you to move again. But tonight, the salt does not sting. Tonight, it lets you sleep.
You dream of dates. Not the sweet, wrinkled kind you chew through absent-mindedly, but the kind that hang in heavy clusters from shady palms. In your dream, they fall from the tree directly into your mouth. They're cool, soft, dripping with honeyed juice, and your tongue swells with joy you didn't know was possible. And then a goat walks into the dream and eats the last one. You wake with a snort. It's early. Not desert early, but outpost early, when the sky is still gray-blue and the scent of cooking flatbread drifts across the stone yard like an invitation wrapped in steam. Somewhere, someone is sweeping. Elsewhere, someone is already arguing about prices. You lift your head slowly, the ground is cool, and your breath leaves a faint cloud as it hits the morning air. Not cold, just cooler than usual. Enough to make you aware of your skin again. The one-eyed camel is already standing. Of course he is. He doesn't sleep the way other camels sleep. He naps like he's been waiting for thousands of years and doesn't want to get too comfortable in case destiny finally arrives. Breakfast? He asks, though it's more of a statement. You grunt. The trough is half full. Still water left from yesterday. It tastes faintly of iron and goat feet, but it's better than nothing. You sip. You chew on a twig you don't remember picking up. You stretch your jaw in slow circles, cracking something that had quietly frozen during the night. Around you, the others are beginning to rise. Camels grumble, goats yawn in a surprisingly expressive fashion. The humans are slower today. Maybe it's the comfort of walls, or maybe they're hungover from too much laughter and too little caution. The boy finds you. He's barefoot. His tunic wrinkled and his hair looks like he slept inside a rotating tent. He pats your side sleepily, murmurs something that sounds like a compliment but might be a complaint, and disappears again. Today is a rest day. It's rare, and it means no walking, no salt flats, no dunes, no storm. Just breathing. Just watching. Just existing. You're not entirely sure what to do with yourself. You settle near the edge of the yard, beneath a tattered cloth that serves as shade for anyone clever enough to claim it first. A group of elder camels is already there, chewing slowly, blinking less. One of them has a patch over one eye. I suspect he's just trying to copy your mentor. They don't talk much. You join in the silence. It's the best part of camel culture. Silence is conversation. After a while, the one-eyed camel appears beside you. He carries a look of great importance, which means he's probably about to say something vague and prophetic. You know what today is? He asks. You resist the urge to say Tuesday. He doesn't wait for your reply. It's the middle, he says. The perfect middle. Halfway through the journey, halfway back to nothing. You blink. That's not encouraging, he shrugs. It's not meant to be, just true. He settles down beside you and begins to chew on something he keeps in a hidden pocket of his cheek, probably dried regret. The middle's the hardest part, he continues. You've come too far to quit, but not far enough to feel proud. It's when the voices in your head get loud, not the humans, the other voices. You know what he means. The ones that whisper, "Why are you still walking?" Or, "Wasn't this supposed to be a palm tree by now?" Or, "What if this caravan just loops forever?" He grunts. You can't listen to them. You chew louder than they speak. You glance at him. That's your solution to everything. He nods. Exactly. Chew and walk. Walk and chew. Occasionally spit. A man walks by singing, loudly. He's holding 2 chickens in a basket and wearing mismatched shoes. He waves at you. You blink. The one-eyed camel sighs. Humans are weird. The rest of the morning unfolds like a slowly unraveling thread. The humans haggle and argue and barter over things they already own. A few children run by chasing a dog, who seems vaguely offended by their enthusiasm. A merchant walks through the yard dragging a cart full of shiny trinkets, glass beads, rusted bells, colorful rags. The goats chase him. One of the elders farts loudly and falls back asleep. You stare out at the gates of the outpost, where the desert begins again. The horizon glows pale and infinite. You try to imagine your hoofprints somewhere out there, faded, forgotten, but real. Proof that you've come this far. You feel both tired and full. Not full of food, full of days, full of motion, full of sky. Later, the boy returns with a treat. Not a fig this time. Something round and sticky, covered in sesame seeds. He doesn't offer it immediately. He holds it like it's a treasure, like he's afraid it might melt if he moves too fast. Then, he reaches out gently and places it on your tongue. It tastes like celebration. You chew slowly, savoring every grain of sugar and sesame. It lingers on your teeth, sweet and stubborn. The boy grins, then rests his head against your side. You let him. The sun climbs, then slides. The sky turns copper, then lilac. The breeze returns just before dusk, curling through the stone yard like a long-lost friend. The shadows lengthen. The world breathes out. Evening comes with quiet. The one-eyed camel stands again, stretches, and mutters something about checking the stars. You remain where you are, too warm, too content to move. You look up at the first stars blinking into view. They're not as many as in the open desert, but they're sharper here, framed by stone and silence. You sigh. It's not a dramatic sigh, just a long one. The kind that says, "This day was strange and slow, and maybe I needed it more than I thought." The boy hums beside you, just a note or two, without tune or purpose. It drifts into the dark like smoke. You close your eyes, and the date dream returns. But this time, the goat doesn't steal the last one.
The caravan departs before sunrise. No singing, no morning figs, no ceremonial bell. Just the quiet urgency of preparation. Ropes pulled tight with sleepy hands, grain sacks lifted with half-yawned curses, and hooves stirring dust in the half-light. The sky is still indigo when the first camels begin to move, their long legs slicing shadows into the cool sand. You are awake before the boy comes to fetch you. There's something about the silence that nudges your eyes open, a kind of stillness that feels more alert than rest. You stand without being told, stretch your neck and shake the stiffness from your front legs. Today feels different. Not dangerous exactly, just wide, as though the world has made itself larger while you were sleeping. Your load is heavier than usual. 2 barrels. One clinks with ceramic inside, the other sloshes with something thick and sharp-smelling. Maybe oil, maybe vinegar. You make a mental note not to trip. The boy ties the ropes carefully, checking each knot with deliberate hands. He mutters to himself the way humans often do when they're focused, repeating instructions you don't understand but appreciate the rhythm of. When he finishes, he steps back and pats your cheek gently. No words, just that small touch of reassurance before setting off. And so, you begin again. The outpost fades behind you with surprising speed, its crooked towers and lazy flags shrinking into the shimmer of morning heat. Ahead, the dunes rise once more, not as tall as before, but closer together, like waves preparing to crash but forgetting how. You fall into your place, 3rd row from the front, just behind the one-eyed camel and ahead of Grr, who has found a new way to walk unevenly, causing your load to tilt left every few minutes. You nudge him once. He ignores you. You nudge again. He groans and adjusts slightly. Progress. The rhythm returns. Step, step, shift, chew, breathe. You're not thinking anymore. Not really. Just doing. Like your bones have memorized the day. The sun rises slowly, casting long blue shadows that stretch and twist beneath you. The sand is firm in the morning, compacted from the cool night. Your hooves land with soft thuds, like distant drum beats keeping time. You reach a ridge by late morning. The caravan pauses. The one-eyed camel stops at the crest, raises his head and stares into the distance for a long, unblinking moment. The humans follow his gaze, squinting. Then you see it. A city. Far off. Very far. So far it might not be real. Just a shimmer, a flicker of rooftops above a faint line of green. But it looks real. And it smells faintly of oranges. You're too far to tell for sure, but the humans cheer quietly. One claps another on the back. Someone even laughs. The word market is passed between them like a promise. The one-eyed camel turns and keeps walking without a word. You follow. The terrain changes again. Less dune, more scrub. Low thorny bushes, tufts of dry grass, the occasional rock that looks like a face. You step around a pile of dung older than your journey. Even waste becomes sculpture in the desert. At midday, the boy shares water with you. Less than you'd like, more than you expected. He tips the bowl carefully, waiting until you blink twice before pouring. This is your new language. 2 blinks for yes, now, 1 for wait, and 3 for watch out. The goat is behind you again.
You drink, he smiles, then moves on. By afternoon, the city grows more real. You see movement now. People, carts, flashes of color, something bright and triangular flapping on a rooftop. Flags, maybe, or laundry, or both. A camel can't be sure. You smell food, spices, smoke, meat roasting over coals. Your stomach growls loudly enough that even Grar looks up. The pace quickens. Even the oldest camels begin to stretch their strides. The humans walk taller. The boy sings softly, and you recognize the tune from a few nights ago, the one that drifted with the jackal's song. The gates appear before sunset. Tall, painted, half faded, carved patterns worn down by years of sand and wind, but still beautiful in that stubborn, time-heavy way. The caravan halts. Guards approach, words are exchanged, scrolls are inspected, names are compared. One guard tries to poke a goat with his spear for no reason and immediately regrets it. Paperwork is slow. Everyone pretends not to be annoyed. You kneel, eventually, muscles buzzing from the day's stretch. A child runs by and tosses a pomegranate peel at your foot. You consider chewing it, then decide against it. Dignity matters. The city opens. You move forward as if through a dream. The streets are narrow and full of voices. People shouting, laughing, arguing, bargaining, singing. A woman balances a basket of peppers on her head while berating a man for forgetting to salt the cheese. A pair of children run barefoot through puddles of spilt dye. A monkey wearing a scarf steals an onion and gets away with it. You are led through this chaos like royalty, or more accurately like transport, but still, you walk with pride. Head up, shoulders square, rope tight, but not painful. The smells are overwhelming. Incense, charcoal, fresh bread, citrus, sweat, wet stone, dry mint. You breathe them all in and hold them like secrets. Your path ends in a courtyard, shaded by linen canopies and the low branches of a fig tree. You kneel again, unloaded, unroped, free. For now. The humans scatter, some to markets, some to baths.
The boy disappears with a handful of coins and a determined stride. You wait. You're good at waiting now. The other camels gather loosely in the yard. Some rest, others explore. One finds a patch of clover behind a cart and refuses to share. You lie on your side, stretch your legs, and sigh. The one-eyed camel settles beside you, as always. His mouth is moving, but not in chewing. City of cumin. Too loud. Smells of ambition. You nod. He continues, more to himself than to you. They always trade too much here. We'll leave tomorrow with things we don't need. That's how this city works. You close your eyes, let the smells and sounds wash over you. But one smell stands out. You lift your head. Footsteps. The boy returns. He carries something round and steaming on a flat piece of wood. A treat. He holds it out to you. You sniff. Flatbread. Still warm, spread with date syrup, dusted with crushed pistachio. You take it gently, chew slowly. He sits beside you, eating his own piece. Neither of you speaks. You chew, he chews. The sun dips below the rooftops. Lamps flicker into flame. Voices fade into songs. The city exhales. And you, in the heart of it, full of bread and dusk and companionship, close your eyes. For now, the journey pauses, but you know it will begin again. And when it does, your feet will be ready, because that is what they do.
The next morning, the sky is quiet. Not empty, not blank, just quiet. As if the sun itself has decided to rise on tiptoe, casting its light with the hush of someone trying not to wake a sleeping house. The city is still, half wrapped in shadow, its alleys and rooftops yawning beneath a blanket of blue-gray haze. You are already awake. Not because someone shook you, not because the boy came early, but because you know. Somewhere in your bones, the rhythm has returned. It itches just behind your knees and hums under your ribs. The march must begin again. You stretch slowly. One leg, then the other. Your joints click in protest, but they obey. You shake the dust from your fur and take in a deep breath of the morning. Spice and smoke and faint citrus, with just a hint of city stone and bread ovens. The smell of departure. The boy arrives a few moments later, arms full of ropes, water skins, and a wrapped parcel that smells suspiciously like leftover lentils. He greets you with a sleepy smile and begins loading the new cargo. Slightly too much, slightly off-center. You grunt softly. He adjusts. Progress. The one-eyed camel is already standing by the gate, staring at the road beyond the city like it owes him money. His expression is unreadable, but his posture says everything. We're going. Don't ask why, just walk. You fall into place beside him. The caravan forms more slowly today. City walls have a way of softening the urgency of travel, but eventually, the humans gather, the goats are rounded, the crates balanced, and the arguments resolved. At least for now. The city fades behind you with the reluctance of a memory you're not quite ready to let go of. You march. The road today is different. Not open dunes, not salt flats, but a winding, narrow path, flanked by low hills and brittle brush. The earth is cracked and pale, with jagged stones that poke at your hooves and force you to watch your step more carefully. It's not beautiful, exactly, but it's quiet. And quiet, after the city, is welcome. The air smells of dust and dry thyme. A bird calls from somewhere you cannot see. The wind rustles low,
curling around your legs like a shy dog. The sun hangs back, shielded by a gauze of high clouds. You can still feel its warmth, but it no longer bites. You begin to notice things. Small, ordinary things. A beetle dragging a leaf across the path. A lizard sunning itself on a flat stone, then darting into a crack when a goat gets too close. A line of ants crossing the road with such intensity and organization, you're momentarily ashamed of how clumsy your own path has been. You realize the desert, even here, is alive. Not loudly, not showily, but constantly, like breath. Around midday, the caravan pauses at a narrow spring. It's not much, just the trickle of water down a gully, surrounded by scrubby plants and the faintest touch of green. But in the desert, not much is still everything. You kneel. Your knees groan, your back sighs, your mouth is dry enough to feel hollow. The boy brings water, carefully, patiently. He knows now to pour slowly, to angle the bowl just right. You drink in long, quiet gulps. It tastes of minerals and mud and salvation.
Nearby, Grrr is trying to bully a donkey out of the shade. The donkey is unimpressed. You watched with mild interest. Eventually, the donkey wins. The one-eyed camel doesn't rest. He paces the edge of the camp, muttering to himself about snakes. You're not sure if he's warning someone or reminiscing. The humans unwrap their food: flatbread, olives, dried apricots. One of them tries to balance a cooking pot on a rock and burns his hand almost immediately. The boy laughs. You flick your tail in amusement. After reading, the caravan rests. But rest, today, is strange. There's a stillness here that isn't just silence, it's watchfulness. You lie with your eyes half closed, chewing something dry and unimportant, but you feel it, like a question in the air, like something waiting. And then, somewhere beyond the next hill, a sound. Distant, rhythmic, metal on stone, or maybe hoofbeats. Not yours, not the caravan's, something else. The elders hear it too. Ears twitch, heads lift. The one-eyed camel freezes mid-step, then turns toward the sound with a sharpness that startles even the birds. The humans rise, voices lowered, hands reach for ropes, for blades. Visitors. They arrived within the hour. Not bandits, not traders, just travelers. A smaller caravan, dustier, older. Only 4 camels, 3 humans, 1 dog with a limp. They exchange words quietly. There are nods, shared water, a gesture toward the spring. No one relaxes, but no one tenses either. The boy walks to you, places a hand on your cheek and murmurs something. Not a warning, a thought. These people, he says, they come from the Salt Lake. They've seen something. You blink at him. He points at one of the travelers, a thin man with a curved dagger and eyes that never stop moving. He says there's a caravan behind them that never arrived, weeks late, gone. You chew. Slowly. The kind of chew that says, I am listening and I am thinking, but I am not panicking, yet. The elders grunt among themselves. The one-eyed camel walks directly to the stranger caravan's oldest camel and sniffs him with ceremony. They grunt. They stare. They stand too close for comfort. Then they part. The road ahead just became less certain. You march again. The path grows tighter. The hills press in on both sides.
The road narrows to little more than a trail of crushed stone and broken plans. The silence returns, but it's heavier now. The humans don't sing. The boy walks closer to your side. You keep moving, because that is what camels do. Even when the world grows quiet, even when the air hums with the weight of unspoken things, even when you suspect that not all caravans reach their cities of cumin, you keep moving. And that night, when the fires are lit low and the stars finally return, you sit beside the one-eyed camel, who says nothing for a long time. Finally, he turns his head and whispers, "Some cities vanish, swallowed by sand. Some never existed at all." You look at him, then at the stars, then at the boy asleep beside you, hands curled beneath his cheek, lips parted slightly. And you say nothing. Because sometimes, even in the desert, silence is the only true answer.
You wake to the sound of silence, not the gentle hush of dawn or the ordinary quiet that comes before people stir. This is the kind of silence that leans in too close. It presses against your ears, taut and unnatural. Even the goats are still. Even the wind, that loyal companion, has chosen to hold its breath. You blink. The camp is just beginning to move. The humans speak softly, not out of sleepiness, but caution. Their movements are slow, purposeful. The boy doesn't hum this morning. He rolls up the mats in silence, tightens the water skins with deliberate hands, and avoids the other's eyes. You stretch your legs and rise without command. You feel the tension in the air. It prickles along your spine, sits behind your ears, settles in the space between your shoulder blades. The one-eyed camel is already awake. He stands just outside the camp perimeter, unmoving, staring into the distant hills where the path continues. His lone eye doesn't blink. His jaw doesn't move. No chewing today. Not yet. When the caravan departs, it does so without a word. No bells, no grumbling, no drama from grrr. Even he seems to sense that today the desert is watching. The path leads upward, narrow, winding, and dry. Rocks shift beneath your hooves as you climb, the slope cutting at an angle that makes your legs ache almost instantly. The scrubland is gone, replaced by dry gravel and stone faces that peer down at you like ancient sentinels. You do not look back. This part of the desert is different. Not harsher, just older. You can feel it in the cliffs, in the broken staircases of worn boulders, in the ruins scattered along the path, half walls of stone, old posts buried in sand, fragments of carved tile that glint when the sun strikes just right. Not buildings anymore, just remnants. No one speaks of them. The humans glance but do not stop. One touches a stone and quickly withdraws, rubbing his fingers together as if something lingered. The boy walks close to you, closer than usual. His hand rests on your harness more often, as if reassuring himself you are still real. You glance at him, and he offers a tired smile. The one-eyed camel hums a low note, not a song, just a sound, one he makes when the world feels like it's remembering something you'd rather forget. And then you reach it. A break in the path, a shallow pass where two ridges open wide, and the road dips into a sunken stretch of valley that looks, at first glance, peaceful. But the camels stop.
All of them. Without cue. Without command. Even Grrr halts mid-step. Because scattered across the valley floor, half buried in sand, are things no camel wants to see. Ropes, blankets, cracked pottery, a single sandal, and bones.
Not clean ones, not ancient ones. Bones still tangled in cloth, still draped in the shape of people who once had somewhere to be. The humans freeze. The boy steps closer to you, his breath shallow. His hand grips your harness tighter now. No one speaks. The wind chooses this moment to return, light and hollow, brushing across the valley like a cautious hand. The one-eyed camel moves forward slowly. You follow, not because you are brave, because you are trained to walk, because stopping means nothing will change. And so, hoof by hoof, the caravan enters the forgotten pass. It's not wide, but wide enough for a slow file. The sand here is lighter, softer, as though recently disturbed. The sun sits behind a pale veil of cloud, casting a cold light over everything, like morning inside a dream. You walk past the remnants. A basket of almonds, split open like a wound. A spilled satchel of blue dye, the powder now faded and scattered, staining the sand like bruises. A camel harness, still intact, still tied, but nothing on the end of it. No one speaks, not even the goats, even the dog, who normally can't resist sniffing anything new, stays close to the humans, tail low. And then, beneath the silence, you hear it. A sound that doesn't belong. Not wind, not footstep. A whisper. You lift your head. You look to the rocks above, to the shadows within the cliffside. Nothing moves, but the sound lingers, soft, low. A voice, or maybe many voices, saying things you cannot quite understand. The boy hears it too. You feel it in the way his hand tightens again, his shoulders square. The caravan does not run. Camels don't run. We move forward slowly, heads low, eyes half closed. It's how we protect ourselves from sun, from storm, from sorrow. The one-eyed camel leads. He hums again, and slowly the whisper fades. You emerge from the valley by late afternoon. The light changes once you leave it, grows warmer, less filtered, more real. The path descends again, winding back into terrain you recognize. Soft sand, pale rocks, low hills with tufts of stubborn green. The humans stop to rest, not because they need to, because they need to breathe. You kneel. The boy doesn't untie your load yet. He stands beside you, his eyes scanning the path behind, as if expecting the valley to follow. You look too. It hasn't changed. Still there. Still waiting. The one-eyed camel lies down slowly beside you. He doesn't speak at first. Then, softly, with no drama, that was the caravan. You don't reply. You don't need to. He continues. They walked too fast, left their guide behind, thought they knew the way. He lowers his head, resting his chin against the sand. You saw the blanket. You nod. Same pattern as mine, he says. You blink. And now you understand why he led you through so slowly. Why his steps today were not deliberate, but reverent. You chew slowly. The taste of your thoughts is bitter. The boy finally sits down beside you, not leaning, just sitting, still watching the way you are. And as the sun dips lower,
and the shadows lengthen into strange, familiar shapes, the wind carries one final whisper behind you. Not words, not fear, just reminder that even the desert remembers, even when no one else does.
The next day begins not with a sound, but with a feeling, a dense, slow heaviness that settles over everything before a single foot moves. The desert feels quieter, more respectful, as if it too remembers what you walked through yesterday. The past behind you remains unseen now, tucked beyond the curve of the earth, but its memory presses on every back in the caravan like an invisible hand. You rise with the others. You're slower today, not from pain, not from fatigue, but from thought. It moves through your limbs like cooled wax, thick, resistant, not quite ready. Still, your legs obey, because that's what they do. The boy speaks little as he straps your load. His hands are careful, movements rehearsed, but his brow furrows more than usual. When he finishes tying the last knot, he pauses and lays his hand gently on your neck. Not a command, not a task, just the warmth of contact. The kind that says, I saw what you saw, I know what you know, but we have to keep going. And so you do. The caravan marches. The morning light is golden, clean, and almost too beautiful to trust. It casts long shadows that stretch across the sand like stories trying to reach further than they ever did. Each footstep lands with a muted crunch, soft and even, as if the earth has chosen not to protest your passing for once. You don't speak to the one-eyed camel. He walks ahead of you, as always, steady and sure. But even his chewing today is slower, reflective. Now and then he glances up at the sky, as if waiting for a sign that doesn't come. The terrain changes again. The dunes recede and the ground flattens into a soft plateau, pocked with tufts of coarse grass and scattered rocks that jut from the sand like old teeth. You pass a twisted tree, half dead, still clinging to its last green leaf like a promise no one else believes in. The boy points it out quietly and then doesn't say anything more. Around midday, the wind returns. Not a storm, not even a threat, just movement. Gentle and dry, slipping through your fur, rustling the packs tied to your sides. It brings the scent of distant water, faint, barely real, but enough to lift the heads of every camel in the line. Even Grua walks straighter for a moment. The humans begin murmuring again. The word, well, drifts back through the caravan like a question wearing a hopeful mask. You've heard it before, and sometimes it's even true. You reach the well by early afternoon. Not a grand oasis, no palm trees, no shady pond. Just a stone ring set into the earth, with a rope hanging from a beam above it, and a bucket that looks older than all of you put together. But it smells like water, real water, cold, buried, waiting. The humans gather quickly, lining up with bowls, flasks, skins. They lower the bucket hand over hand, drawing up the desert's hidden gift one mouthful at a time. Some splash their faces. One pours it directly over his head and lets out a sound that resembles a dying goat but is probably meant to express joy. You wait your turn. The boy comes to you with a clay bowl. This time he fills it twice, lets you drink slowly without rush. The water is cool, clean, slightly metallic. It tastes like stone and silence and the relief of not having to imagine anymore. You drink. You blink. You breathe. Later, while the humans prepare a small meal, lentils again, and something fried that smells like feet, you rest beneath a piece of stretched cloth tied between two posts.
The shade is thin, but enough. You close your eyes, not to sleep, but to pause. That's what today is becoming, a pause. Not a dramatic one, not the kind that brings tears or speeches, just the kind that lets you inhale all the things you've been carrying. The memory of the bones, the boy's quiet grief, the silence of the one-eyed camel, the taste of a fig that might have been the last sweet thing you had for days. You lie still, not moving, not even chewing, and let the sun pass over you like a hand on the forehead. The boy joins you in the shade after eating. He sits cross-legged, barefoot, arms wrapped around his knees. He doesn't speak at first, just breathes in rhythm with you. Two creatures, side by side, sharing warmth and dust, and the long patience that only travel teaches. Then he says, softly, "There's a city ahead." You turn your head just slightly. He continues, "My uncle says it's bigger than the last one, full of music, spices, painted walls." He pauses. "I've never been." He doesn't sound excited, not yet, just curious, and maybe a little afraid. He looks at you, eyes soft. You blink once. He laughs, not loudly, but with the breath of someone who needed to let something out. The one-eyed camel appears not long after. He doesn't speak to either of you, just lowers himself beside your front legs with a grunt and begins chewing the same strand of grass he's been carrying since last week. Eventually, he speaks. Every city is real until it's not. The boy frowns. What does that mean?
The old camel doesn't look at him. Some cities fade after you leave them. Others vanish before you arrive. The boy opens his mouth to ask something, then closes it. The three of you sit in silence as the sun begins to lower. When it's time to move again, it's only for a short stretch, just far enough to reach a soft bed of sand on the plateau's far edge, just past the crescent-shaped hill. The humans begin setting up camp. They laugh more now. The older man with the bald head tells a long story about the time he got lost in the market and accidentally bought 20 onions. It's not a good story, but they laugh anyway. You kneel. The weight is removed from your back. Your shoulders creak with relief. The boy places a cloth over your neck, shielding you from the last rays of sun. Then he sits again, this time with a date in his hand. He takes a bite, then breaks off a piece and offers it to you. It's sweeter than you remember. The moon rises slowly. Tonight, the stars are clearer. The air is still, and for once, the silence is gentle again. The one-eyed camel stares at the horizon, where the next city waits. You follow his gaze, and for the first time in a while, you let yourself wonder, not fearfully, but with quiet curiosity, what might be waiting there. Not just walls or bells or food, but who you'll be by the time you arrive. Because each step forward isn't just distance, it's change. And somewhere in that change, you're learning who you are. Not because someone told you, not because it was written, but because the sand keeps asking. And every step is your answer.
The next morning arrives with no surprises. No storm, no whisper, no ominous pause before the sun crests the horizon. Just light. Pale and patient, it stretches over the dunes and creeps into the shallow valley where you and the caravan have rested for the night. You blink into it slowly, without urgency, letting the cool breeze of dawn run through the tips of your ears like someone combing through your thoughts with gentle fingers. Your legs respond without protest. You rise before the boy even stirs. It's a subtle shift in you, an instinct that no longer waits for instruction. You've learned the rhythm now. The road doesn't knock, it doesn't ask, it opens like a habit, and you step into it. The boy appears soon after, hair flattened on one side, face half smeared with sleep. He rubs his eyes with the sleeve of his tunic and yawns loudly, then smiles when he sees you already standing, already waiting. He pats your neck, more awake now, and gets to work strapping down the morning's cargo. 3 tightly wrapped bundles and the clay jar that sloshes with something sweet and sticky. The one-eyed camel stands nearby, chewing a sprig of something bitter-looking, his mouth moving in slow, methodical arcs. His single eye, always calm, watches the boy for a while, then returns to the horizon. You wonder sometimes if he ever actually looks at the road ahead, or if he's just watching something he's already seen. The caravan begins to move. The city is still a day or two away, depending on the heat and the stubbornness of the path. No one rushes. The terrain has shifted again. Less sand, more dust. The earth here is harder, with long veins of dry clay and flat stones that crack under hoof with a sharp, satisfying pop. There are patches of scrubby grass and brittle bushes, but they're rare, more like reminders than landscape. The air smells different too. Less salt, more spice, like the wind passed through baskets of pepper and coriander before reaching you. You breathe it in, and for a moment, it makes your mouth water. You imagine dates cooked with cinnamon, warm bread rubbed with oil and herbs. The boy must be thinking the same, because he murmurs something about honey cakes as he walks beside you. As the sun climbs, the path winds through a shallow gorge. Tall rock walls rise on either side, casting blessed shadows that stretch like fingers over the caravan. The temperature drops slightly. The camels relax. Even Gra, who's been strangely cooperative since the Valley of Bones, lets out a groan that sounds almost content. Almost. There are carvings on the stone here, faint, faded. You barely notice them at first, but as the gorge narrows, they appear more often. Simple lines etched into the walls, spirals, circles, figures with outstretched arms, a sun with too many rays. The humans point them out, whispering among themselves. The boy traces one with his fingers. A camel, perhaps, or something close. Its hump is exaggerated, its legs long and curved, and its eye wide and solemn. "Is that you?" he asks softly, smiling. You blink at the carving, then at him. He laughs. "No, I suppose it's too happy to be you." You grunt. The sound echoes up the rock face and fades into the sky. The gorge ends in a gentle slope. The sun returns, warm but not cruel, and the wind carries with it the unmistakable scent of smoke. Wood, slow burning, mingled with something roasted. You smell cloves, maybe even nutmeg. You don't see it yet, but you feel it, the way the others do. Camels walk with straighter backs, the humans stand taller. A goat makes an excited noise and immediately trips over a stick. The dog runs ahead and disappears over a ridge, tail waving like a flag. You keep walking. The land flattens again. By mid-afternoon, you reach a rest stop. A wide, open area marked by 3 ancient tamarisk trees and a scattering of flat stones arranged in a half circle. You've seen places like this before. Temporary camps that have been used so often, they've become permanent. You kneel near the shade. The boy removes your pack and fetches water. It's warm, but clean. He pours it into a clay dish and wipes your nose with a damp cloth after. You let him. You've stopped pretending you mind. This has become your language: water, cloth, fig, rope, hand. Around you, the caravan relaxes. The humans brew tea and cook something over a quick fire. The scent of cardamom rises into the air. One of the elders begins singing, not loudly, not well, but with feeling. A slow, rolling melody that hums along your spine. You don't know the words. You don't need to. The one-eyed camel lies beside you. He doesn't speak. Just choose. Then, after a while, tomorrow the city. You nod slowly. He turns his head, his good eye focused on the boy who's now sitting with his knees pulled to his chest, listening to the human song. He likes you, the old camel says. You blink. Don't act surprised. He trusts your silence. Another pause. Humans are loud, always talking, but sometimes they need something that just listens. You chew on a piece of dried grass, considering this. The wind picks up slightly, rustling the trees, stirring the dust. The boy rises and comes to sit beside you again. He leans back against your side, his body warm and light. He hums softly, not the elder's song, but something else, something smaller, something quieter. Just a melody without words. You close your eyes. Later, as the fire dies and the sun begins to dip, casting the sky in gold and apricot, the boy places a small piece of something sweet into your mouth, a sugared fig, dusted with flour, shaped like a star. You chew slowly, thoughtfully. It sticks to your teeth and fills your mouth with syrup and memory. He doesn't say anything. You don't either. The city waits ahead. You will reach it soon. But tonight is not about where you're going. Tonight is about where you are. A patch of cracked earth, a boy, a camel, and an old creature with one eye chewing the same piece of grass for what might be eternity. You lie down fully as the light fades and your body sinks into the warmth of the ground. Your eyes close before the stars appear, but you know they're there. They always are, even when you're not looking.
The road to the city begins before the light fully arrives. The sky is a slow blushing violet, and the air has that crisp edge only found in the final moments before dawn turns into something else. The humans are quiet but busy, folding blankets, tightening straps, passing bowls of tea that steam faintly in the cool air. No one hurries, yet everything seems to happen quickly. The caravan is like that now, so practiced it doesn't need voices to move. You rise as the boy approaches, already knowing what comes next. Your legs feel heavy, but not in a painful way, just full, like each bone is storing the distance you've walked. He pats your side, says nothing, but he smiles at you, and that is enough to make you breathe a little deeper. You feel the morning sun touch the tips of your ears and then slide down your spine as it slowly climbs over the hills to the east. The city will be reached today. That's what the boy said last night, and it's what the one-eyed camel said even earlier. His voice is certain as the stones that line the path. And you can feel it too. Not in your eyes or ears, but in your feet. The earth is changing. Beneath the dust, the ground feels more settled, more worn by footsteps, wheels, sandals, hooves. Civilization leaves a rhythm, and the desert carries it long after the walls of a city come into view. You walk steadily, your pace matching the others. The one-eyed camel is a few paces ahead, chewing absent-mindedly on something brown and crumbling. Grora, miraculously, is behaving today, perhaps still tired from the sharp climb 2 days ago, or perhaps simply too hot to complain. The goats walk close together, their bells ringing faintly, and the dog trots alongside the boy, tongue out, tail half curled, ears alert. As the morning deepens, the signs of the city become clearer. The road becomes harder, more defined, marked now and then by stones placed intentionally, forming a kind of path that the humans seem to trust. You pass a post painted red, faded to pink,
then a half-buried wall that someone once built to keep something out or in. Small bushes grow along the roadside, herbs maybe, or just weeds, but they look like they've been stepped around, not through. And then the smell changes. Gone is the sharp dryness of wind on rock. In its place is something richer. Smoke, yes, but not just campfire. You smell roasting chickpeas, garlic frying in oil, something floral and bitter at the same time. Perfume and steam and old wood all tangled together. The boy lifts his head and sniffs. The dog barks once, the one-eyed camel grunts in approval. The humans grow visibly excited. They adjust their robes, they wipe dust from their sleeves. One smooths his mustache with a practiced flourish, though it does little to tame it. They begin to hum, to speak louder, to plan. You hear the word market again, and coin, and sweet almond paste. You wonder briefly if any of it will fall your way, or if, once again, you'll be left with whatever gets dropped by accident. And then finally, the city appears. It doesn't rise like a palace or gleam like a mirage. It emerges slowly, piece by piece from the folds of the land. First, a rooftop, curved, whitewashed, shaded with cloth. Then a tower, square and squat, with a blue banner that waves lazily in the rising breeze. Then the full wall, low and wide, made of sun-baked bricks and covered in graffiti both old and new.
The gate is open. Not wide, just enough for one wagon at a time, but the people there, guards, vendors, children with strings of dried figs for sale, make it feel like a celebration. The caravan slows, but doesn't stop. This is familiar. This is routine. Names are given, scrolls are shown, a goat is inspected with exaggerated suspicion. A boy offers a flower to your boy. He takes it, shyly, and tucks it behind your ear. You don't object. You pass through the gate. Inside, the world changes. The heat remains. The dust still clings to your knees, but there is color now. Everything is close, crowded, leaning into itself. The streets are narrow, lined with awnings in red and green and gold. Fabrics hang from balconies. Fruit glows in wooden crates. Chickens run beneath stalls as if in on some secret. People move in patterns that only they understand, always nearly colliding, but never quite. The humans are already shouting greetings, embracing friends, gesturing broadly. The boy keeps close to your side, one hand on your harness. He leads you through the crowd carefully, threading between carts and baskets that might be carts. The noise is enormous. Someone bangs a drum. Someone else yells about oranges. A child chases a pigeon. You blink slowly, chew nothing, and keep walking. The caravan comes to a halt in a shaded square, surrounded by buildings that smell of spice and stone. The humans begin unloading quickly, their movements rehearsed. Packages are lifted, bundles untied, ropes coiled. You kneel when asked, grateful to feel the ground beneath you without the weight. Your legs throb softly. Not pain, just reminder. You rest in the shade while the humans work. The boy returns after a while with water, cooler than usual, and a folded piece of flatbread, soaked in syrup. He offers it without words. You accept. It sticks to your teeth, sweet and satisfying. He sits beside you, back against your flank, and closes his eyes. You hear his breath slow. The city hums around you, alive and relentless. But you sit still. The one-eyed camel settles near a wall and doesn't speak. He watches the people move, watches the sky above the roofs. He looks, for once, tired. You let yourself close your eyes too. Not to sleep, just to pause.
Later, the sun begins to drop, and the boy leads you to a courtyard near the Caravanserai, where travelers and their beasts can rest. The ground is clean. There's a trough full of fresh water. The stones around it are warm from the sun. You drink. You breathe. He removes your harness slowly. There's a reverence to it now, not just habit. You've come far, and he knows it. As dusk falls, the sky turns pink, and lanterns begin to glow behind windows. Music rises, lutes, drums, a voice singing something melancholy and soft. You hear laughter, too. The wind carries the smell of cardamom tea and roasted vegetables. The boy sits beside you again. He looks older here, in this light, not because of age, but because of everything between where you started and this square. He leans his head against your shoulder. You stay still. In the distance, the city continues, unaware of how far your feet have carried you, how many winds you've heard, how many dunes you've forgotten. But you know. You remember. And now, finally, you rest.
The city breathes differently after dark. The heat retreats, slipping behind the bricks and vanishing between the stones, replaced by something softer, something closer to warmth than to fire. A hush settles over the streets, not quiet, but gentler. The voices grow slower, deeper, the footsteps less hurried. Music curls out of doorways in slow spirals, drifting over the rooftops like perfume. Lanterns sway gently in the wind, their yellow glow puddling across the worn stones. You stand in the courtyard, freshly watered, newly unburdened, and fully awake in a way that only rest can give you. The boy returns with something wrapped in cloth, something round and warm that smells faintly of olives and herbs. He doesn't offer it to you this time, not because he's selfish, but because this is one of the rare meals meant to be shared behind human walls. But still, he sits with you, cross-legged, picking at his food slowly while his back leans against your chest, his weight a familiar pressure you've come to associate with peace. The one-eyed camel remains in the far corner, half asleep, his ears twitching in time with the music that drifts down from a balcony. Occasionally, he makes a sound like he's dreaming, a low grumble followed by the gentle click of teeth, as if chewing on the ghost of a story he's told too many times. Even Grrr is quieter tonight, lounging against a broken pillar like a retired actor, snorting once in a while just to remind everyone he's still here. Around you, the world spins with the slow gravity of night. The city doesn't stop. It just changes. Markets close, yes, but alleyway musicians take their place. Children vanish into sleep, but the cats come out instead, winding through legs and leaping from windowsills like little princes of the dark. A woman in a blue robe walks by carrying a basket of dates on her head, humming a lullaby to no one in particular. You blink and follow her with your ears more than your eyes. The boy hums too now. He's not eating anymore, just resting. In the morning, the caravan will leave. Not forever, just to another part of the city, perhaps, or toward a village beyond the western ridge, or into the next chapter of this long, sun-hardened book. But for now, you are still. You are not walking, not chewing, not hauling. You are being. The boy begins to talk, softly, like a confession whispered into a campfire, not because anyone demanded it, but because some truths grow too large to carry alone. He tells you about his mother. You had heard her name once or twice before, spoken with reverence, occasionally with sorrow. But this is different. He tells you how she taught him to wrap a bundle, how to keep lentils from burning, how to braid rope without fraying the ends. He says she had strong hands and a loud laugh, that she never wore shoes inside the house, that she used to sing to the water before boiling it.
He pauses. You don't move. He continues, voice lower now. He says she got sick 2 winters ago, that the sickness didn't arrive loudly. It came slow, like a shadow at the end of a day. First, she stopped singing. Then, she stopped cooking. Then, she stopped rising. You feel his breath catch. He tells you about the day she couldn't open her eyes, about the sound his father made when he realized it, about how no one told him what to do, but he knew anyway. That was when he joined the caravan. No ceremony, no decision, just motion, just walking away from a room that had grown too quiet. You lower your head a little, just enough that your nose brushes his shoulder. He smiles, but barely. Says, she would have liked you. And then he leans against you again, and neither of you says anything else for a long while. Above, the stars multiply. The night thickens, cools. The noise of the city folds into itself. Doors close, voices fade, lanterns flicker out. You feel the rhythm of the courtyard shift. A few of the humans have already fallen asleep near the wall, their heads wrapped in cloth, their feet exposed to the breeze. The goats snore, tiny and uneven. The dog curls at the boy's side. You remain awake. Not because you're anxious, just because this quiet is rare and worth listening to. Eventually the boy stands. He stretches slowly, his limbs stiff from sitting too long on stone, and then he begins to prepare a blanket in the corner where he'll sleep tonight. He doesn't say goodnight. He doesn't need to. He just pats your side twice and yawns. You watch as he settles down, curled against his satchel, head resting on a rolled cloth. His breathing slows quickly. He's used to sleeping in strange places. He always has been. The city watches over him now. You don't sleep, not right away. Your eyes remain half open, catching the soft shapes of the night, shadows shifting, stars dimming, the occasional flicker of a moth against the final burning lantern. You think of the path here, the bones buried in sand, the fig trees, the cracked wells, the whispering wind. You think of how many places you've seen and how each one left its dust behind in the grooves of your hooves. And you think about how this city feels different, not because it's safer or louder or kinder, but because for once, it feels like something may stay, like this isn't just a stop along the way, but a chapter worth rereading. The one-eyed camel shifts in his sleep. Gur snorts. A cat meows somewhere in the distance. And finally, you close your eyes. Not from exhaustion, not from duty, but from the slow, quiet certainty that, just for tonight, there is nowhere else you need to be. You are not walking. You are not working. You are not waiting. You are home, even if only for now. The morning sun in the city doesn't rise, it seeps. It pushes through the narrow spaces between buildings, filters down crooked alleys, reflects off the ochre walls with a sleepy golden sigh. It enters the courtyard softly, not as a declaration, but as a suggestion that maybe, just maybe, the world should wake up. And you do. Your body knows it before your mind does. Some old instinct buried in your bones. A signal passed from ear to leg to lung that says, it's time again.
You stretch your neck. The air smells different in the morning. Fresher, but still full of yesterday. Spice lingers on the stones. Somewhere, someone is baking flatbread, and the scent of it rolls toward you in slow, delicious waves that make your tongue twitch. The boy is still asleep. He lies curled on his side, one arm under his head, the other resting lightly on the dog, who is also deep in dreams. The courtyard is quiet, except for the soft murmurings of pigeons on a rooftop and the occasional clink of a pot from behind a closed window. The one-eyed camel is already awake. He doesn't say anything, just watches the light move across the wall, chewing something dry and brown that he must have picked up in the dark. You wonder if he ever truly sleeps, or if he simply rests his bones while his mind wanders far beyond what any of you can follow. Eventually, the humans stir. Blankets are folded, cups are rinsed, ropes are gathered. The city begins its slow inhale, the vendors setting up their stalls, the children chasing each other barefoot, the women sweeping dust that never really leaves. Everything is in motion, but not yet urgent. You stand. Your legs feel less heavy this morning. The ache of yesterday has softened into a kind of memory, the kind that says, yes, that happened. Yes, you carried it, but you're still here. The boy wakes. His hair is wild, his eyes are sleepy. But the moment he sees you already on your feet, he smiles with quiet pride. No words, just that look, like a shared joke told without a sound. Breakfast is simple. Water, a handful of soaked lentils, and a corner of soft bread rubbed with something salty. He eats half and gives you the rest. You chew slowly, savoring the unusual softness of the bread. It's a gift, small and silent. The caravan isn't leaving today. Not yet. The humans have business in the city, trading, repairing, collecting news. One of them needs a wheel fixed. Another disappears down a side street muttering about turmeric. They scatter like coins dropped on the ground, each rolling in a slightly different direction, but still part of the same purse. You stay with the boy. He leads you through the quieter part of the city, away from the market chaos. He doesn't ride you, not here. He walks beside you, hand resting on your side, guiding you as if you were his older sibling, and not a four-legged beast with a tendency to chew things that aren't food. You pass a public fountain shaped like a lion. Its mouth spills water into a cracked basin, and pigeons bathe in the trickle. You stop and drink. The water is cold, mineral-rich. It tastes like copper and thyme. Nearby, a group of children are playing a game with small stones. One of them sees you and gasps. "Look," she cries, pointing at your hump. "It's the biggest I've ever seen."
Another child asks if you're magical. The boy grins but says nothing. You don't need defending. You are what you are. Half patience, half dust, and entirely too old to care about childhood myths. Later, he takes you to a quiet courtyard filled with herbs and flowering trees. It's not part of the main road. It feels hidden, private. A cat watches you from a windowsill with the kind of suspicion only cats can manage. There, the boy unpacks a small bundle wrapped in cloth. Inside, a brush. He begins to groom you. The strokes are gentle, slow, deliberate. He hums as he works, something tuneless but soft. You feel the dust lift from your fur in fine clouds. He takes extra care behind your ears, where burrs often collect, and along your neck, where the straps dig deepest. For a moment, you close your eyes. The city fades. All that remains is the boy, the brush, and the quiet rhythm of care. When he finishes, he doesn't speak.
He just steps back and looks at you like he's trying to remember you exactly as you are in this moment. Not as a beast of burden, not as a shape in the sand, but as you. You blink once. It's enough. In the afternoon, he takes you through a gate at the edge of town. It leads to a wide overlook where the city gives way to low hills, and beyond that, more sand. You stand there for a while. The wind is cool up here. It carries dust and birdsong. The boy sits on a stone ledge, legs dangling, face turned toward the horizon. He doesn't speak, neither do you, but your thoughts begin to wander. You wonder how far you've walked in your life. Not in miles, in moments, in days that bled together, in cities like this one, in oases and valleys and dry wells that never gave what they promised. You think about the Bone Valley, about the fig tree, about the night you and the one-eyed camel listened to the silence together. And you wonder something else, something quieter. How much of you still belongs to the desert, and how much now belongs to him? The sun begins to lower. The city behind you grows louder. Drums begin to sound from somewhere deep in the streets, a festival perhaps, or just the night doing what it always does, reminding people to gather, to sing, to let go. The boy sighs and stands. He doesn't say it, but you know it's time to return. You walk beside him, slower now, not from fatigue, but from the weight of the view you're leaving behind. The city embraces you again. You pass a bakery. Someone offers the boy a sweet. He shares it with you. You chew, and it melts. The courtyard glows in the early evening. Lanterns have been lit. Someone is telling a story near the fire, gesturing wildly. You recognize the words. It's about a camel who once saved an entire village by refusing to sit down. You think they've embellished the ending, but you don't correct them. You kneel. The boy removes your harness gently. Tonight, you'll sleep well, and tomorrow, maybe you'll leave again. Or maybe you'll stay one more day. The desert will wait. It always does. The final morning comes without drama. No trumpet of wind, no heavy sky, no omen scratched into the earth. Just a slow, deliberate return of the sun across the tiled roofs of the city, gilding the dust into gold and turning the sleeping faces around you soft and glowing. The courtyard, once so lively, now rests in half silence, populated only by those still lingering in dreams, and the pigeons who, as usual, have woken far too early. You are already up, standing quietly near the edge of the stones, your body long since tuned to the rhythm of departure. Your legs shift with old grace. You sniff the air and taste the faint scent of packed grain, oil, old rope, and the sour tang of donkey sweat already drying in a corner. It's not unpleasant. It's familiar. It's the scent of the road, of movement, of repetition, of something quietly inevitable. The boy stirs not long after. He rubs his eyes and sits up slowly, stretching with a low groan and blinking at the soft light like it surprised him. His clothes are slightly wrinkled from sleep and his hair falls into his face. But when he sees you, already standing, already watching, he smiles. There is weariness there, but something else too. That flicker in the chest that says, "We made it this far." He rises and walks to you barefoot, not speaking, only pressing his forehead lightly to your shoulder. A greeting, or a promise, or both. The others begin to move as well. Blankets rolled, pots packed, camels saddled once again. The dog stretches and scratches himself furiously. Even the one-eyed camel, whose every movement is now so deliberate it might as well be ancient ritual, slowly chews the final remnant of a dried fig and groans in protest as his bundle is adjusted. And grr, still grr. He snarls once at a sack of millet and then proceeds to fall asleep on it. Some things never change, but the caravan is ready.
You feel it in the way people talk less and tie knots more, in the way the dog circles but stays closer to the line, in the way the boy moves, not rushed, not reluctant, just decided. There was nothing left to buy, nothing left to sell, nothing more to prove in this city that now fades into yesterday. You're saddled with care. Everything is balanced perfectly. The familiar tug of rope over your chest, the weight, not light, not cruel, but present. A reminder that your body has meaning here, that your feet are part of something larger than wandering. You step forward, and the rhythm returns. The road greets you without fanfare. You pass through the city gates once again, and no one watches you go. But you don't mind. Cities are for arrivals. The desert is for remembering. You leave the walls behind. The ground flattens. The horizon lengthens. The colors fade from painted signs to dry clay, from blue silk to pale rock. The scent of saffron and frying bread disappears, replaced once more by wind and sun and sand and space. It's quieter again, but not silent. The boy begins to hum.
Not loudly, not for anyone else, just for himself. A tune that never seems to end and never really begins. You walk beside him, the dust rising in soft puffs beneath your hooves. He taps a rhythm against your side as he hums, and you feel the song move into you, even if you don't know the words. The one-eyed camel walks behind you, slow and steady. The dog darts ahead. The goats have grown thinner, but their bells still jingle. The caravan winds through the plain like thread through cloth, purposeful, steady, beautiful only when seen in motion. At midday, you stop near a stony outcrop shaped like a sleeping beast. There's little shade, but enough for the humans to sit, chew dates, and let the heat pass. The boy leans against you again, eating in silence. He offers you the skin of his fruit. You eat it slowly. He drinks from a small flask and splashes the rest into your trough. The one-eyed camel lies down with the sound that could mean anything from relief to resentment. You remember that village with the singing well? He asks suddenly, looking at nothing. You grunt. Or the time we found the lost goat that wasn't lost, just offended. You blink. He sighs. It's all beginning to blend. You understand what he means. The road doesn't keep memories in order. It piles them like stones in a dry riverbed. What matters is not when they happened, but that they did. You rest for an hour. Then you walk again. And something changes. Not loudly, not suddenly, but slowly, like dusk pulling the sun into its lap. The boy looks at you differently now. His hand rests on your side longer. His voice is quieter, less joking, more gentle. Because he knows. And so do you. This journey has been long. Long enough to change the shape of his steps and the weight of your bones. And though the road stretches still ahead, many days, many valleys, there's something shifting beneath the dust. A pause beginning to form. That night, you camp in a hollow, surrounded by stones carved by wind into strange and gentle shapes. The sky above you is enormous, stitched with stars so bright they feel alive. The fire is small. The humans eat little. No one talks much. Even the dog curls up early. The boy brushes you again before sleeping. He doesn't speak. He just moves slowly, his fingers catching in your fur, untangling the last bits of city from your coat. He finishes, presses his forehead to your side one last time and lies down. You watch him as he sleeps. His chest rises and falls in time with the wind. And though you do not sleep, not yet, you begin to let the night carry you. Because tomorrow may be the last day of this road, or perhaps the first of a new one. Either way, you are ready. Because you are a camel, born in the silence between sandstorms, raised by wind and heat and stubbornness, made of hunger and grace and distance. And now, at the edge of everything,
Still walking, still listening, still carrying the weight of another being's hope, like it's your own. And maybe it is. Because when you were born, no one wrote it down. No one named you with trumpets or songs. But now, someone remembers. Now, someone looks for your face in every passing caravan. Now, someone hums a tune shaped like your steps. And that is enough. It always was.
And now, as the last grains of this story settle in the folds of your thoughts, let the rhythm of the caravan fade gently into the distance. The sand no longer presses beneath your feet. The sun, once bright and blinding, has softened into a dusky warmth that barely kisses your back. The wind, which carried so many smells and sounds and secrets, has grown quiet too, no longer whispering, just breathing. You are still, no longer walking, no longer watching, only resting. Around you the world grows dim, not from darkness, but from quiet, from the deep hush of knowing nothing more needs to happen right now. The road can wait, the journey has paused, and the weight, for once, is no longer yours to bear. The boy sleeps soundly beside you, and his dreams, though silent, reach you in tiny ripples. You feel them brush against your skin like water. The stars blink slowly overhead. Somewhere in the distance, a drum beats once, then not again. And you, patient, dust-covered, wide-eyed traveler, breathe out, a long breath, a soft one, the kind that says, yes, enough, just enough. You are safe. You are remembered. You are at peace. So let your eyes close now. Let the sands grow quiet around you. Let the last echo of the road fade from your ears and drift softly, gently, as if the wind itself were carrying you home.